Episode 91, I Want You Tonight. Raquel covered her face and lowered her head in silence. The slap was so hard that everyone felt embarrassed looking at her, but she still endured it. For Zach, she would endure anything. As soon as the older lady spoke, Leonard knew he had to calm down. Dolores was in a very bad mood. As she walked toward Raquel and Leonard, she said, "How embarrassing. The guests are watching. Raquel, are you trying to embarrass the entire Cage family? There should be a limit to your willfulness. You dare to talk back to your father. How disgraceful." Raquel's body trembled. When Norman saw his sister like this, he hurried to her side and pleaded her case for her. "Grandma, sister knows she is wrong. Please don't chastise her anymore. Do you know you are wrong?" Mrs. Cage ignored Norman and continued to question Raquel coldly. "Apologize to the guests who did not ask to participate in this disgraceful display. You should be grateful to be a part of this family, and we will not make such spectacles of ourselves in public." "I don't want to," Raquel spit out. "I don't want to apologize. I have nothing to apologize for. I don't want an arranged marriage to benefit the business. I want to be with the person I truly like and respect. Why should I apologize for that?" Leonard, who was holding his temper to please Dolores, felt his anger rise again. He reached out his hand and grabbed Raquel tightly. Leonard gritted his teeth and said, "It seems you are still confused. Please come with me so we can discuss it in private." The guests all backed away. Everyone was watching this scene, but the truth was, this wasn't an uncommon occurrence. In the upper class of society, there were many secrets, and situations such as this were common. Such outbursts frequently happened at parties these people hosted. It was their practice to remain silent and pretend nothing had happened. "Let's end it here," Harvey suddenly said. He stood between Raquel and Leonard and said coldly, "The guests are here. Don't you think it is bad to do this now? It is Raquel's birthday today. We can pick this up some other time." Raquel hid behind Harvey. She was crying so hard that her whole body was trembling. Harvey sighed deeply as he saw how hurt she was. This was the Cage family that held you hostage with their own set of rules. He inherited great wealth, but only if he somehow escaped this family would he be able to enjoy the joys that life truly held. "Norman, take Raquel home, so you can all rest tonight," Harvey said. At this moment, he was not asking questions, but demanding everyone's adherence. Norman immediately grabbed his sister's hand and dragged her away. Harvey looked sharply at his grandmother and said in a cold voice, "Grandma, it is getting late. Please let Sierra take you back to your house." His grandmother narrowed her eyes angrily at him. In the end, she said nothing and allowed Sierra to lead her outside. Luke looked at Thomas and watched everything transpire between the family members. He curled his lips and said, "The future is in the hands of the free." Thomas was confused. "What does that mean?" Luke smiled and said, "I felt that this Harvey Cage was ruthless as his reputation implied, but he has a heart and emotions under that tough outer shell." On the way back, Raquel had stopped crying, but she still felt a terrible sadness. Having her father call her out in front of so many people made her worry about what he might still do to her. She did not understand why her father would not want her to be happy. She had already said she would not agree to those marriages he was trying to arrange. She realized that the love most fathers had for their daughters was lacking in him. Norman splashed some whiskey in a glass and handed it to her. "Sis, put some ice on your cheek." Raquel reached out her hand to take it as she sniffled. "Norman, thank you. I'm sorry for scaring you tonight." Raquel knew that Norman worried her father might hurt her if she disobeyed. After her mother passed away, she and her father had always had disagreements, which upset her brother enormously. "I am not a child anymore. Don't worry about me. I am on your side." Norman leaned close to her and smiled. "Happy birthday. Cheer up." Raquel looked at his slightly childish and cute face in a daze. She reached out her hand to stroke his face. "We have grown up. Thank you for your wish. It's the most beautiful thing I have heard tonight." Norman rubbed his head and murmured, "We're family. Nothing is more important than family." Raquel nodded and choked with laughter. "Yes, we are family." It would be great if Dad could remember that as well. The car drove to the house and stopped in front of it. Norman waved at her in the car. I will stay at Harvey's house tonight. Don't worry about me. Bye. Okay, bye-bye. Raquel waved goodbye to him. Before entering the house, Raquel took a deep breath. Upon entering, she asked one of the staff to prepare cake and wine before going to the restroom to fix her makeup again. After taking a deep breath, Raquel took everything and walked into the room where Zach was waiting. Zach, I'm back, Raquel said with a beaming smile. She walked to the bed and handed him a glass of wine. I don't know if it's because of my birthday, but the moon is beautiful tonight. Zach raised his glass. Happy birthday, Raquel. Raquel looked at him happily and said, I couldn't wait to come back from the party and didn't even stay for the birthday cake. Eat some with me. Sure, Zach replied. They cut the cake and ate in silence. She had already decided to give herself to Zach tonight, but this matter seemed to require some foreplay. Raquel did not know how to start that on her own and felt nervous. Zach spoke at that moment as if he was reminiscing. The first time I met you was also summer. At that time you were 14 and only wanted candies. Zach, don't mention what happened back then. It was so embarrassing. Raquel blushed. She felt shy whenever he mentioned her childhood. Zach smiled. But in my eyes, you are just as cute now as you were back then. Raquel looked at him in confusion. This was the first time she had seen Zach reveal something like this, and she did not feel that it was a good thing. She was flustered and thought Zach was about to say something she did not want to hear. Raquel, you are years younger than me. In my eyes, you are like a sister. I have no romantic feelings for you. When you are fully grown, I know that you will find someone who will make you truly happy. Raquel looked at Zach and blinked. She had boldly rejected all the men at the party. She had been slapped by her father and scolded by her grandmother. She wanted to give him everything and be his in return. How could he say such words? Don't you feel hot? Raquel asked, looking at Zach. You should be starting to feel a fire burning in your stomach. Zach opened his eyes wide. Indeed, his body was feeling bad. What did you do? Zach demanded. Raquel stood up and reached her hand over his shoulders to take off her dress. I drugged the wine, Zach, to make you hold me tonight. You used to treat me like a child, but I now demand you to treat me like a woman. Raquel had already taken off her clothes as she spoke. She was only wearing a bra as she stood in front of Zach, and he immediately turned his face away. His body was on fire. Damn it! Raquel, are you done messing around? I told you I wouldn't be with you. Get out! Zach shouted angrily at Raquel. Raquel walked in front of him and forcefully threw him onto the bed. She straddled him and looked down at him. Zach, stop struggling. I've already drugged you, so you need to cooperate. Zach was furious, and he tried his best to restrain himself. But when he raised his head, he could see Raquel's fair skin and perfect figure. Damn it! Who gave her this stuff to drug him with? No, he couldn't touch her. Holding the sheet, Zach gritted his teeth. Even if I did, I wouldn't be responsible. Raquel, I don't want you. Go away. You don't have to give me your body. Raquel's heart suddenly ached. You don't want me? Yes, but I want you. I want you to go crazy. How could you not want me? Do you know how much my heart hurts right now? Raquel leaned over Zach and smiled. Even if that's the case, I still want it. Zach, I will have you tonight. All I've done will be meaningless if I can't have you. Raquel, please stop. I can't go on like this. I can't do this with you. He was on the verge of losing his mind. His body and spirit couldn't take it anymore. Most importantly, he knew what kind of desire was hidden in his heart. The air was filled with a sweet and tempting fragrance. His shirt had been torn open, and the hot temperature of his skin made Zach's breath quicken. Zach, I will give you everything, Raquel said. She grabbed his hand and put it on her own. Zach's forehead was covered in sweat. He gritted his teeth with the last bit of reason he had. Raquel, I beg you, please get away from me. If this continues, you will never be able to go back. I don't want the past anymore. From now on, I want you to treat me like a woman, Raquel announced loudly, then leaned over and kissed Zach on the lips. A sweet tongue coiled around Zach's, and all his good intentions fled. I don't need to see reason anymore. I want you. His strong arm finally wrapped around Raquel's waist. With a turn, he pressed her down and passionately kissed her back. This was the first time Zach had responded in this way to her, and Raquel's heart and body trembled as she tightly hugged Zach's neck. This night, she would forget all her unhappiness, would be lost in the sweetness of this moment, the thrill of pain and extreme pleasure. She would feel it all from him. When Harvey returned to the house, he saw Norman curled up on the sofa. He pulled his tie off and asked, "Why aren't you sleeping?" Norman blinked and said, "I can't sleep." Harvey walked over and sat down, casting a sidelong glance at him. "Are you worried about your sister?" Norman nodded and muttered, "I wonder if things will go smoothly between them." Harvey raised his brows. "Who knows? They are the only ones who know where this relationship is going. However, your father is very troublesome. It doesn't make sense at all. Seriously, every one of the older generation in the Cage family is more annoying than the last." Norman hugged his leg and tilted his head to look at him. "I will ruin your engagement. I will help you destroy it, but you have to help my sister." Harvey was startled. The determination in the youth's eyes glittered, and he knew the boy was dead serious. Harvey smiled and rubbed his hair. "Please don't worry too much. The future is in our hands. Continue working on getting stronger, so you can protect everything you love and fight back." Norman bit his lip and lowered his head. After heading to his room, Harvey picked up his phone and called Evelyn. When the phone rang, Evelyn had just finished showering and was surprised when she saw the phone call. Harvey? Normally, it would not be a good thing for him to call, but Evelyn picked up the phone after hesitating for a bit. "Why are you calling so late at night? What are you trying to do?" Evelyn asked warily. Harvey leaned back on the sofa and listened to her sweet voice. He narrowed his cold eyes. "Can't I call you when I'm bored?" Harvey asked. Evelyn furrowed her brow. "Not really. I keep feeling that you are the person who only makes phone calls because you have a purpose." Harvey curled his lips. "You know me so well. I am indeed such a person." "So what do you want?" Evelyn asked. "It's just not been a good night. I want to hear your voice." Harvey's charming voice let her know. Evelyn was stunned. Boom! Something exploded in her mind. Her heart was beating fast, her head was dizzy, and her face felt flushed. He was clearly not in front of her, yet he was still able to make her feel at a loss. "Are you calling me at this time to tease me? Boring." Evelyn teased him a bit. Harvey heard Evelyn's nervous, incoherent voice and could almost imagine her blushing face. His mood suddenly improved, and Harvey lazily said, "I heard your voice, and thank you for picking up the call. Good night." After saying that, Harvey hung up the phone. He felt much better. He wanted to hurry up and get to Wednesday as soon as possible. He had planned not to see her on Tuesday to set up the date, but Harvey did not know if he could endure her absence until then. The wait would be long and full of a sense of foreboding. It was the same school that Timothy went to as well. The corners of the hallways are not only filled with memories of Harvey's school days, but also with Timothy's unconfessed love for Evelyn. Would this date bring them memories of Harvey's school life, or would it lead to Evelyn to truths she knew nothing about? Episode 92, The Last Chance. The next morning, the sky was gray, and it was drizzling. It was the kind of weather that just made a person feel gloomy. Raquel woke up to find the person beside her when she had gone to sleep was no longer there. Last night, she undid the shackles on his legs. After having a good time, she fell deep asleep. After looking at the empty bed, the pain in her body was nothing compared to the pain in her heart. She already knew about that man. If she didn't lock him up, he would leave. She knew that she was too delusional if she believed any differently. Raquel hugged the blanket tightly and started crying silently. Zach's scent still lingered on it. When Harvey walked into the office in the morning, he heard whispers. Harvey frowned. He walked over and asked, "It's so early in the morning. Why are you all sitting around talking? The morning is our busiest time, and you all should be working." "Sir, I'm sorry." When the people in the office area heard his voice, they turned back to their computers in fear, apologizing aloud to Harvey. Harvey raised his eyebrows. "What happened? Why were you all gathered together?" "Sir," a secretary who had been in the company for a long time walked up to him and whispered, "It's Zach. He is already in your office." Harvey was startled. He thought of last night and asked, "Is that so strange?" Zach's left hand is wrapped and the corner of his eye is bandaged," the secretary said. Harvey had never thought that this would happen. He had believed that Zach would be upset at what Raquel did, but he had never thought he would be injured. How could he be injured? Raquel hit him? It was impossible. Raquel would rather hurt herself. She couldn't bear to hurt Zach. "I understand. You guys go ahead and do what you need to do. Don't talk about this anymore." "Yes, sir," the secretary replied and went back to work. Harvey opened the door to his office and walked in. In the office, Zach was sitting on the sofa and working on a laptop in front of him. When he saw him come in, he said calmly, "Harvey, here you are. There's been a lot of work I did not complete over the past few days, and I'm sorry I got behind." Harvey furrowed his brows, unsure how Zach was carrying on so calmly when injured. Harvey said coldly, "Zach, please tell me what happened." He stood in front of Zach until he looked away from the screen and replied in a muffled voice, "I was with Raquel last night." "Yes, I know. Raquel, I'm sure, found some interesting things to do with you," Harvey said with a knowing grin as he sat in a chair opposite Zach. "And what did you do?" "I left her alone this morning while she was sleeping," Zach replied. "I can't believe it. Zach, you look like a gentleman. How could you do something like that? You know only I'm supposed to treat women that way." Zach lowered his head and ignored his sarcasm. He continued, "I went to see Raquel's father. I had hoped he would agree to me marrying her. In the end, he flew into a rage and did this to you, didn't he?" "Yes. First, he purposely spilt hot coffee on me, injuring my hand. Then the cup was thrown over, and I didn't dodge. The corner of my eye was hit, and I was chased out of the house in this state." Harvey pursed his lips and asked, "What about Raquel? Are you going to leave her like that? Have you ever told her what happened, if she knew you were going there? I'm sure she would have been worried." "I didn't tell her, as I didn't want to give her false hope. If Raquel is with me, I want it to be with her family's blessing. Family is very important to her, so I can't let her abandon her family. I will work despite my injuries. I don't believe I will let this impact my job. I don't intend to tell Raquel anything about this unless I succeed in gaining her family's blessing." "What if you can't get her father to agree?" Harvey asked. "Then I'll let Raquel believe me to be heartless and have nothing to do with me," Zach replied. In the past, Raquel had other admirers and friends. He hoped she would be happy even if they were not together. Harvey furrowed his brows in confusion. Why? Raquel had suffered for Zach during the party, and he had done the same for her this morning with his injuries. Was this love? It was such a troublesome thought. Wouldn't it be better not to fall in love with one person and cause such terrible things? Wouldn't it be easier to have different women and fun without all this emotional turmoil? Since they liked each other now, it would be good to enjoy themselves in their heart's content, right? Besides, they didn't know when they would get tired of each other, so they could wait and see how it might turn out. He couldn't understand why Zach and Raquel made it so hard on themselves to fight for this relationship. Anyway, I don't understand what you guys are thinking. Last night, Raquel publicly rejected those men at the party, and her father slapped her in front of everyone for it. Raquel has been doing all this for you. If you truly believe she deserves to not know what you did, that seems like something you need to think about some more. Harvey stood up and said, "You have to hold on tightly when you find something you truly want. Business opportunities are like this, and people are like this." Harvey did not believe in feelings to this level, but he had experience. Zach sat there for a while, his mind a mess. He couldn't work at all after hearing what Harvey said. Everything that happened last night surfaced. He thought about Raquel being slapped by her father and then coming to him last night, looking radiant, without a care in the world. Facing his harsh words, how did she feel? It was so painful. His heart was in so much pain that it was about to drive him crazy. "I'm sorry, Harvey, I can't work today. My mind is a mess. Please allow me to take leave." "Okay, please go take care of yourself. I don't want anyone to know that my employee is in such rough shape. You are the face of the company next to me." Harvey waved him away. I hope this blockhead can figure it out. With nothing else to do, Harvey texted Evelyn. "What are you doing?" Soon a text message came back. Sleeping. It's already been so long. Are you going to be lazy all day? I'm on the night shift today. I have nothing to do until later. Don't disturb me. Harvey's lips curled up. He realized that harassing her made him smile. He could forget about everything else when he was engaging with her. Evelyn couldn't sleep after being woken up by Harvey's text message. She remembered that Cindy should have recovered by now after she caught a cold recently. After not seeing her for quite a long time, she missed her and decided to call Cindy. The phone kept ringing, but no one answered. Evelyn called a few more times, but no one answered. She bit her lower lips silently. Cindy used to call her, happy to chat about all sorts of things. How long had it been since she last called her just to talk? What had Cindy been up to lately? Evelyn's imagination ran wild. Cindy had heard the phone ringing, but she did not answer it. She didn't dare answer Evelyn, as she was always afraid of exposing her secret. Sorry, Evelyn, especially not today, because my brother will be hospitalized tomorrow. Timothy walked out wearing a nice suit with a brooch on the breast collar. Cindy walked over and examined the brooch closer as Timothy asked, "How does it look? Am I handsome?" Cindy nodded. "Very handsome. Why are you dressed so nicely?" Timothy smiled and said, "I'm going to the university to look around. Do you want to come with me? I'll be hospitalized tomorrow and just want to take this opportunity to take a trip down memory lane." Cindy nodded and said, "Sure, I will go with you." After hesitating, Cindy suggested, "Timothy, let's go see Evelyn tonight. It's just for dinner. The three of us hadn't had dinner together in a long time." Timothy was silent for a moment. Finally, he could not resist the temptation and nodded. All right. This might be the last time he would see her. Even if he was still ashamed of what happened the last time he saw her, he didn't want to pass up this chance. The two of them went to Timothy's previous university. It was Timothy's school, but he could see Evelyn everywhere. "I still remember that from our school to here it only takes 3 bus stops." "I remember. She came here often because it was so close. I think the security guard thought she was a student here," Timothy said. Cindy nodded and walked to a certain place to stop. "The cherry blossoms have all fallen." Timothy followed her line of sight and looked over. The three of them had taken pictures under that tree, upon which they now gazed. At that time, the sky was blue and the flowers were very beautiful. He had wanted to put his arm around Evelyn, but he decided against it. He now wished he had, because now all he had was endless regret. As they walked, Timothy went to see a professor he remembered. The professor was so happy when he saw him. They chatted for a few moments before the man looked at Cindy and said, "I see you brought your sister today. What happened to the girl from back then?" Timothy looked at Cindy and thought about the time when Cindy and Evelyn would wait outside this very classroom for him. At that time, even the professor had been able to see his feelings for Evelyn. The professor said time waits for no man. If we don't take hold of the one we love, someone else will. That girl is doing very well now. I just didn't bring her with me today, as I wished to spend time with my sister. Bring her to my house for dinner one of these days." The professor smiled and said, "It would be nice to catch up more with you." "That sounds good," Timothy said with a smile. If he was not sick and had a future, this answer would have been a dream of his. This was the truth of a love that could have been theirs without his diagnosis. After walking around for a long time, Cindy and Timothy went to the restaurant at 8 in the evening. Evelyn was shocked when she saw Cindy. Cindy waved at her and smiled. "I have a surprise for you." Evelyn happily held her hand. When she saw Timothy, he was silent, and her heart immediately melted. Evelyn smiled and said to Timothy, "Timothy." Her eyes fell on the pocket of his suit. There was a familiar brooch there. She blinked and said, "Hey, you still have that brooch." Timothy looked down and smiled gently. "Yes, I like it." It was the brooch she had given him, and he had kept it. No matter what happens in this world, even if I get hurt again and again, I still want to work through all the issues we've had in the past. You are the most important person to me. Although you have never loved me, I have always cared for you. "I'm hungry. Can we get seated and order dinner?" Cindy saw that they were still dawdling and tried to hurry things along. Nancy came up after seeing them together and told Evelyn she would cover her shift for her if she wanted to dine with her friends. After the three of them had a meal, Cindy let them know that she wanted to go to the bar. It had been too long since they had been together to have fun. Evelyn felt that this night was especially poignant with all of them together again. Cindy and Evelyn both drank alcohol. Timothy never had an alcoholic drink, just soda. It was already midnight when they walked out of the bar. Cindy was so drunk that she leaned on Evelyn and sang. The song Open Your Heart did not match her tune. Evelyn supported her and said helplessly, "Cindy, you've had too much to drink." Cindy hugged her and asked, "What about you? Are you drunk? Sing with me." "It's hard for me to love you in my heart." "Oh, stop singing. It's out of tune." Evelyn looked up at Timothy. Timothy sighed and said, "I'm going to get the car. Wait here a minute." Okay. The night wind blew, and Evelyn was the only one supporting Cindy under the streetlights. Cindy hugged Evelyn. After a moment of silence, she suddenly asked drunkenly, "Do you love him?" Evelyn blinked and asked in amusement, "Who?" "Timothy. Do you love him?" Evelyn frowned. Cindy was out of it when she was this drunk. Suddenly asking this kind of thing put Evelyn in a weird state of mind, but she answered honestly, "I used to love him, but I don't anymore." "Do you hate him?" "How could I possibly hate him?" Cindy hugged her, and Evelyn could feel tears dampen her shoulders. Evelyn jumped back to look at her friend. "Hey, Cindy, why are you crying?" Cindy looked at her face and giggled. "I'm happy." Evelyn looked at her crying and laughing face. She was confused. Why was she happy? This girl was too drunk to know exactly what was going on in that head of hers. At that moment, Timothy drove the car over and helped Cindy inside. Timothy apologized. "Thank you for taking care of her." Evelyn shook her head and said, "It's fine. I often got drunk in the past, and it was Cindy who took care of me." The car drove off with Cindy and Evelyn in the back seat. Cindy leaned on Evelyn's shoulder and started humming again. "Timothy, let's stop here," Evelyn said, a short distance from her house. The road was being repaired, so the car could not go any further. Timothy insisted that it was not safe for her to be alone at this hour, so he jumped out to walk her to the door. Evelyn knew this was his gentlemanly nature, so she did not refuse. Timothy smiled and said, "Cindy is way too drunk. Please don't mind her." Evelyn asked, "Is Cindy okay? I feel that something is not right with her." Timothy shook his head. "It's fine. Don't worry about her. You can rest assured that as long as I'm here, I will look after her." Evelyn nodded at him. "Be careful when you go home, Timothy." Evelyn was about to leave when Timothy reached out his hand and grabbed her wrist without thinking about it. When Evelyn turned around in confusion, Timothy realized he had grabbed her and hurriedly let go of her hand in embarrassment. "Sorry, I suddenly stopped you," Timothy said. He was nervous and his hands were sweating. He didn't want to say goodbye like this. The moment he thought he might never see her again, he couldn't leave without saying something. Maybe this was the last time he would have the opportunity to say something to her. "Timothy, I think you're acting weird too," Evelyn said. Timothy quickly came back to his senses. He looked at her with his brown eyes and asked awkwardly, "Am I?" Evelyn sighed softly and smiled. "Yes, it is very strange. You look very nervous. Timothy, you still feel guilty about what happened last time, right?" "I already said that it is fine. Don't worry about it anymore." Timothy looked at her smile and felt his heart skip a beat. He could smell the faint fragrance of her body. His heart was beating fast, and some uncontrollable emotions surged in his heart. Her lips looked so tender that he felt like kissing her. Was this their last meeting? Would Timothy take his secret love for Evelyn to the grave? Would Evelyn never get to know about the love she always craved for? This seemed to be Timothy's last chance. Would he confess? Episode 93, A Slip of Tongue. Looking deeply at Evelyn with curious eyes, Timothy muttered, "Evelyn, how can you always forgive me so easily?" Evelyn blinked her eyes and raised her red lips playfully. "Because no matter what, you are the best man in the world. I will always forgive you. I will always feel that everything Timothy does makes sense and is right." This was an inexplicable trust in him. It was a feeling that Evelyn herself could not describe. She just felt that he had made the right decision. Timothy smiled bitterly. He was trusted. Even though he didn't know if what he did was right or not, she trusted him so much. Taking a step forward, Timothy reached out his hands and gently hugged Evelyn. He said softly, "Evelyn, you must be happy. You are so good. You must be happy." You must be happy so that everything I do is worth it. Timothy, why are you suddenly saying this? He smelled of lemongrass in her arms, the best scent of youth. She closed her eyes as if she were in a dream and returned to that era instantly. It was really strange. Perhaps her first love was really special. Even when she looked at Timothy now, she still felt that he would never change. It was as if he would always be like this. I'm fine. I'm just emotional. I think you are an amazing woman. Timothy held her and absorbed the last bit of warmth and smell of her body. He let her go. Sure enough, he couldn't do anything about his ravaging emotions or say anything to her. It was good enough just to see her. The pure joy on her face made him smile, as he loved seeing her like this. He didn't want to see her crying, so that was it. Timothy, you were acting really strange tonight. Evelyn blinked and giggled. A flower fell in her hair, a small white flower from a tree by the street lamp. Timothy raised his hand to take it off her, but decided against it. He decided to let this flower stay in her hair for a while longer. After all, it was just a beautiful passerby. It would disappear very soon, just like him. Perhaps her memories of him were beautiful, but they were not indispensable. He was just a passerby. Evelyn, goodbye, Timothy said to Evelyn with a gentle smile. Evelyn was startled for a moment. Timothy looked as if he was the most handsome man. He looked a bit pale, but he looked so elegant and handsome. She couldn't help but feel lost when she saw him. Strange, had he been so thin and pale before? Timothy, goodbye, Evelyn said as she turned around. She did not delve deeper. When she reached the building entrance, she saw Timothy still standing there. Flowers fell from the trees next to him. The night wind suddenly blew, stirring up flowers that messed up his hair. Today his white shirt did not rise up due to the wind, but she could see him standing there on a day in the past when the shirt had been whipped up by strong winds. She remembered when he said, "Hello, Evelyn," and she felt gooey inside. Evelyn smiled and walked into the building. Timothy stood there until the lights in Evelyn's house lit up. He then turned around and walked out of the neighborhood. Goodbye, my girl. This time I'm gone, and I may not come back. And when I leave, I'll be a star in the sky. And if you don't notice, I'll shine on your night path. Evelyn had a dream that night about when she was in college. She dreamed that she confessed her feelings when Timothy returned from America, and Timothy told her he felt the same. She and Timothy started dating after that, and he was very good to her. They were very loving, and eventually planned to marry. Evelyn woke up when they were exchanging rings. It was already broad daylight outside the window as she rubbed her forehead, clearly able to recall her dreams. Evelyn sighed and curled her lips. The power of first love is something when it can make me have such a dream. Timothy was special to her, and she would always have regrets about him not returning her feelings. However, that was all in the past. It was all a dream. She could not forget that today was Wednesday and she had a date with Harvey. She wore a white t-shirt, a blue skirt, and left her long hair down. As she looked at herself in the mirror, Evelyn felt like she was back in college. Harvey was stunned when she appeared in front of her home when he came to pick her up. Her current appearance was so pure that she looked like she was 16 years old. She had a sweet air that made people stop and stare at her. No one truly knew the true depths of her beauty inside. Harvey raised his eyebrows and wondered what would have happened if he had met Evelyn when he was in college. According to other people, if he had been interested in a girl when he was in school, he would have pursued her. Harvey, in fact, knew he would not have done anything like that, as he hadn't cared about women much back then, and might have actually ignored her. Evelyn looked at Harvey and blinked. "There's not much difference between what you wear in the office and what you have on now." Harvey raised his eyebrows. He was wearing a shirt and slacks today, but didn't have a tie or a jacket. "I am always the CEO of a company, whether at work or out," Harvey said. Evelyn laughed and got into the car. After she fastened her seatbelt, Evelyn asked, "Will I stick out today in my outfit?" Harvey shook his head and replied, "I like it." Hearing him say this, Evelyn felt better as she held the large gift bag she had brought. "I know you took care of several things for me recently, so I brought you a gift." Harvey raised his eyebrows as he looked at the bag and asked curiously, "What is it?" Evelyn said, moving the bag to his lap, "You can open it if you like." He reached out his hand and took the wrapping to find a large box inside that he opened. Harvey pulled a neatly folded trench coat from the box. Evelyn shyly lowered her head and said, "I made it myself. I don't know if you would like it or not. You can wear it in the fall or during bad weather." Handmade clothes? He was not expecting that. He was touched when he thought about how she had worked hard to perfectly create such a gift for him. Harvey lifted her chin with his hand and gave her a deep kiss. "I like this gift, and the kiss is a small token of my gratitude." Evelyn covered her mouth and stared at him. "I still don't know if it will fit you the way you like." Harvey put the box down. "Let's try it out when we get to our stop, and I will tell you exactly how good you are." Evelyn was speechless. "I'm worried, as you don't show mercy when you give your opinions. And please don't compare me to Alex." "Don't worry, I will be gentle with you." When they got to their destination and got out of the car, he tried on his trench coat immediately. Just as Evelyn hoped, he looked amazing when he wore it. Harvey liked the trench coat Evelyn gave him. He had never worn one before, as he had always felt they were uncomfortable and heavy. But this one was surprisingly perfect. Evelyn looked at him nervously and asked, "How is it? Do you like it?" He looked up at her and said, "Evelyn, can I hire you to be my personal fashion designer? I think you can start working in the fashion industry full time." This kind of roundabout praise made Evelyn laugh. She curled her lips. "Sorry, I am a designer with a goal and not going to sell out to your company for a paycheck." Harvey shook his head at her. "You know how to make me feel low." They had a good chuckle as he bent to kiss her sweetly. Harvey took Evelyn on a walk around his old school and shared his story. He was not exaggerating his status on campus. She realized that when she saw the bronze statue of him in the courtyard. Evelyn looked at the statue in shock and shook her head. "Every time someone comes through here, they can see you here, and the story printed about you on the base here." She pointed to the bottom of the statue that featured a write-up about Harvey. "As someone still alive, it cannot be easy for you." "I don't know if you mock me or truly understand," Harvey said, glaring at her. Evelyn just smiled as they continued, not giving him the answers he sought. The two continued walking until she finally stopped in front of the library. Harvey saw her looking at the library and asked, "What's wrong? Do you know the library here?" Evelyn blinked her eyes and pointed inside. "I've been here before, but this place still hasn't changed. I always waited for Timothy right outside here. This was a good place to have fun on campus. Timothy was very busy and often did his homework in the library. She used to read beside him. Timothy had been in the batch of students after Harvey. Although he was not as glorious as Harvey, he was still a godlike figure in that batch. All the teachers liked him very much. Harvey also knew that Timothy had gone to college here, but didn't want her memories to be of him. Harvey took her hand. "Come with me, even if it's just sitting for a while. I want to replace all those memories you have of him with memories of me." Evelyn was speechless. "Harvey, that is rude." Harvey narrowed his eyes. "Why do you protect him?" Evelyn stopped talking, as there was nothing to defend. He was just rude to try to erase her memories, unless they involved him. She did not want to quarrel with him over such a small matter, though. Evelyn thought if only she had met Harvey at that time. Maybe Harvey would have been different and not such a hard person. At that time, she only had Timothy on her mind, and even if Harvey had crossed her path, she would not have noticed. Love did not prioritize whoever was more impressive or of higher standing. Harvey did not come to the library unconsciously, but had been planning this all along. He had picked out a necklace that he was confident she would accept this time. After all, unlike the previous time, she had provided him with a present this time. He went to the bookshelf and looked for the book. In Shakespeare's column, he chose Midsummer Night's Dream. It's a love comedy. Harvey opened it and put the necklace inside before returning to Evelyn. He did not hand it to her immediately. Instead, he looked at Evelyn moving slowly through the shelves and asked, "What book are you looking for?" Evelyn scrolled through the books and softly said, "It's a book called Remembrance of the Past." She did not want to read it. It was just an impulse on her part. She remembered that Timothy's name was written all over the back of the book card, and she wanted to flip through it to recall that time in her life. Harvey raised his brows but didn't ask any more questions as he waited for his moment to present his surprise gift. Harvey casually flipped through Midsummer Night's Dream and began to read it without much effort. Evelyn found the shelf she had been looking for but noticed that a volume was missing. She couldn't help but raise her eyebrows. "I didn't think that there would be so many people borrowing this book. This was only the first volume." Harvey tilted his head and said, "I don't remember it being a very popular book." She smiled. You haven't watched the Love Letters movie. People who have seen the movie would probably want to borrow this set of books, even though the 7 volumes are long. Just as Harvey was about to say something, his phone suddenly rang. When Harvey saw Zach's name, he frowned and said, I'll need to take this, as it might be about work. Wait for me. Okay, go ahead. I'll wait for you here. Evelyn nodded. She wanted to find a place to sit down and wait for Harvey, maybe outside. The two of them walked on the sidewalk when Evelyn passed a middle-aged man that looked like a professor. The man recognized her with a single glance. Hi, aren't you that young lady I talked with Timothy about yesterday? Why did you not come with him? I would have loved to catch up with you as well. Evelyn was stunned. In confusion, she looked at the friendly professor and asked awkwardly, Hello, you recognize me? And you know Timothy? Timothy was one of my favorite students. You probably don't remember me, but I know you. When you used to come to the school to look for him back when he attended, I saw you several times. Yesterday, Timothy came with his sister and mentioned you. When are you going to get married? The professor asked. Evelyn was stunned. Had Timothy been here yesterday? Did he truly mention her? Wait. What was this about marriage? She and Timothy had nothing to do with each other. What exactly had the professor been told? Evelyn laughed and said, You must be mistaken. Timothy and I never dated. How could we get married? The professor looked at her in surprise. How could you not be together? I asked Timothy yesterday and he didn't deny it. Evelyn shook her head calmly. Maybe it's a misunderstanding. I used to like Timothy, but he didn't return those feelings, so we didn't date or plan to marry. Evelyn felt this professor was very nice, but what he said was clearly a misunderstanding. He didn't know how much she wanted to marry Timothy. If only Timothy wanted that as well. The professor looked at Evelyn's calm expression and furrowed his brow in confusion. That's not right. Timothy likes you. Before he went to a special doctor out of the state, he said he wanted to confess his feelings to you. I even saw the necklace he bought for you. It makes no sense that you never dated. Evelyn's pupils contracted. She looked at the professor blankly. Are you talking about seeing a doctor for a serious disease? What's wrong with Timothy? What kind of joke was this? She had never heard of any such thing before. Timothy was sick and even went for treatment without her knowing? The professor had let slip things Evelyn wasn't supposed to know. What new turns would Evelyn's life take now that she knew the whole truth? Would she forgive Timothy for hiding everything from her and go back to him? And how would Harvey stop this from happening? After everything Harvey had done to win her over, would he let the professor's slip of tongue ruin everything? Episode 94. Harvey, I Can't Choose You. The professor seemed to realize the turmoil he had put Evelyn into and that Timothy may not have told her anything about him being sick. Realizing that he had probably said too much, he stuttered awkwardly. Sorry, I said too much. Evelyn grabbed the professor's arm nervously and asked, What's wrong with Timothy? The professor didn't know what to say. He pushed her arm away and said, Well, you should ask him. Sorry. After the professor finished speaking, he felt like running away. Evelyn stood there watching him walk away, feeling her breathing coming in short spurts. Evelyn's mind was a mess. She did not dare to overthink the situation without firsthand confirming Timothy's secret illness. Evelyn spun around in confusion when someone suddenly patted her shoulder. She was startled and thought it was Harvey, but she did not expect to see 2 women standing in front of her that she did not recognize. The 2 girls saw that she was looking at them with confusion. May I ask which year student you are? Evelyn was stunned and did not understand their question. What can I help you with? The 2 girls looked at each other and handed her a book. We're here to return the book. We noticed you from inside earlier and thought you should see this romantic love letter on the last page. We wondered which boy left it and if it was for you. Evelyn took the book. The title was a blast from her past, Remembrance of Lost Time. Evelyn felt the stabbing pain in her heart. It seemed this might be a trick of fate. She trembled as she turned to the last page. Evelyn found a piece of paper tucked into the back of the book. It was a portrait that she unfolded slowly. The girl in the portrait had a small face and big eyes. Her long hair fell in soft waves over her shoulders, and her face was turned to the right side. Evelyn saw a letter written to the right of the picture. To the best person in the world, you are the love that I can never speak of aloud. The only thing I can give you is this kind of useless love letter. Do you know who this person is? Did he confess to you? Have you ever noticed someone who had a crush on you? Do you still remember him? She covered her mouth with her hands, trembling. Tears fell from her eyes. Evelyn's heart felt so much pain. I know who this person is. He is the only person I ever loved in my youth. He didn't want me to confess such things to him, so I never knew about his feelings in return. Did I notice him? I've known him since he went to school here, but I've never known his hidden feelings for me. Do you remember him? He's still a very important person in my life. Timothy, this is impossible. How could you draw me? How could the person on this drawing be me? There must be something wrong with this that I cannot see right now. How could you possibly love me? A deep love like this I never thought was possible. What's going on? When Harvey returned, he saw Evelyn crying. 2 girls were standing in front of her. Harvey thought Evelyn had been bullied, so he asked coldly, "What happened?" As soon as Harvey appeared, the 2 girls were stunned. He was handsome, like a celebrity of some kind. Harvey's eyes were unfriendly, and it was definitely not the time to gush over him. One girl quickly said, "Well, it's none of our business. It was this lady who suddenly started crying." After saying that, the girl dragged her companion away. Occasionally, she would turn her head to look at the handsome Harvey. Oh, he was so handsome. She felt like she had seen him somewhere before. Could this be the person who left a love letter on the page? No, she didn't think so. Evelyn covered her face and cried. Harvey looked at the book in her hand and snatched it from her. Something told him that the book had the answers to Evelyn's emotional outburst. Evelyn was sobbing uncontrollably, and she picked up her phone with trembling hands. She did not dare to call Timothy directly, so she could only call Cindy. The phone rang for a while before it was picked up. Before Cindy could say anything, Evelyn had already spoken. "Tell me what is going on. What is wrong with your brother? What is the sickness? And what does this have to do with him liking me?" There was silence from the other end of the phone. After a long while, Cindy said in a muffled voice, "Evelyn, come see him. My brother is in the VIP ward on the top floor of the inpatient department of cardiovascular surgery hospital. I will wait for you." Evelyn shivered when she hung up the phone. Evelyn hung up the phone, sniffed hard, and walked out of the library. The person next to her suddenly grabbed her hand, and she turned to see Harvey holding her tightly, with angry eyes aimed at her. "You are not allowed to go." He couldn't let her go. He couldn't let her see him, though he didn't know why. Timothy was her first love. It was not easy for him to get rid of that person in her heart. How could he let her go? Evelyn was already crying heavily as she pulled her arm away and said, "Harvey, let me go. He is in the hospital." What had happened? Why was Timothy in the hospital? She was confused. Fear welled up inside her as she realized that the information she was about to find out about Timothy might be something she could not bear. She had to go. Harvey was startled when he heard this. Hospital? Looking at Evelyn crying, Harvey gritted his teeth. He didn't want her to go. He wished he could jail her in his own home and not let her see that man. But in the hospital? He also understood what this probably meant. "Calm down. I'll take you there." Harvey took her hand and walked out as the book fell to the ground. The 2 of them left the library in a hurry. The book with the necklace lay on the ground with the wind blowing at the pages. When Evelyn arrived at the VIP ward, she saw Cindy leaning against the wall in front of a window. Evelyn tremblingly walked towards her. Cindy saw her coming and put on a fake smile. "Evelyn." Evelyn looked at her as the tears that had ceased on the way over threatened to fall once again. "What exactly is going on? Why do I look like a fool and don't know anything?" Evelyn covered her mouth and tears fell. "What kind of illness is it?" Cindy grabbed her clothes and her body trembled slightly. "His heart is not good, and he needs cardiac surgery. It can't be delayed any longer. I only learned about it recently. My brother went abroad for treatment because of this illness. The doctors said that the success rate is less than 30%, but it is 0 without the surgery." Evelyn stood where she was and listened. She could not breathe, as her heart hurt so much for all that Timothy had been through. She squatted down and just cried. Cindy squatted down next to her and reached out to hug her. She knew how she felt. When she first heard about it, she almost broke down. He didn't want you to know. He was afraid that you would find out, so he even hid it from me. Evelyn, my brother is always only liked you. Because he loves you so deeply, he wants to let you enjoy the life he didn't think he could give you. That's what made Timothy reject her time and time again. How did he feel when he said, "You can do it without me"? In the future, even if I wanted to be friends, you wouldn't agree? That night, he buried his head in her shoulder and asked this question. Did he cry when she said no? Timothy, how did you feel repeatedly turning me away? When he held her that night and said she should be happy, how did he do so knowing he would not be happy? She was sure Timothy didn't love her. But it was only now that she understood why there was always sadness in his eyes. She had hurt the person who loved her most. Bastard! Who do you think you are? Why should I be happy? Why is it up to him to decide such things? At that time, the happiness I wanted was just with you. Harvey took all of this in, standing in the distance. He was emotionless as he watched with a steady gaze. Evelyn, who was worried about other men, was strange to him. Harvey felt he should leave, but he didn't. He just stood in the hallway and watched her squatting down and crying. His heart was in turmoil. He wanted to rush over and pull Evelyn up to his chest to hold her tight. He wanted to say loudly, "How do you think I feel when you were sad for that man? You belong to me." However, he stood where he was and did not move. He felt that only if Evelyn moved could he also take action. Cindy gently patted her shoulder and said to Evelyn, "My brother is inside. If you have anything to ask or say to him, tell him now. But if you do not want to burden him with it now, stay here. I have not told him anything yet. You can pretend that you do not know anything," Cindy said gently. "Evelyn, no matter what decision you make, I will support you as your best friend." Evelyn kept shivering as she looked around the ward. Timothy was inside. As long as she opened this door, she would be able to erase all the years of pain to be with the man she once loved with all her heart. I want to sit down and listen to him talk about the past, those things that he loved about me so deeply. She could not decide, though, as questions circled in her head. How did you let me be lonely and suffer all these years? Evelyn knew she couldn't let everything go, as if nothing had happened. She had to go in and see Timothy. Evelyn stood up and took 2 steps towards the door of the ward. As he watched her, Harvey could no longer bear it. He strode forward and grabbed Evelyn's hand. "You are not allowed to go inside." He was sure that he could give Evelyn everything, but Cindy said she wanted love. He felt that no one could give Evelyn the love she desired. But now someone had given her the fantasy of love. Harvey felt he could make her his woman and have her by his side for as long as he desired with just a little effort. Why did something like this happen now? Evelyn looked at Harvey blankly as her body trembled. Harvey. She looked at his handsome face and felt sad. She liked Harvey very much, even now, but she couldn't leave Timothy alone here. "I want to go in," Evelyn said. "Come here." Harvey dragged Evelyn to a corner further down the ward. He pressed his hands on her shoulders and resisted the urge to scream. "Wake up. Even if you go in, you won't be able to do anything. You don't like him anymore and are with me now. Come with me now." Holding Evelyn's small hand tightly, Harvey refused to let go. Evelyn looked down at the hand he was holding. She wanted to hold hands with this person. She liked being held tightly like this. But now she had no choice but to let go. Evelyn reached out and pushed his hand away. She lowered her head and said, "No, I can't leave. I have to see Timothy now." Harvey's cold eyes were fierce as he grabbed her chin and moved closer to her. He asked, "What happens when you see him? If he says he still likes you, he tells you that you were in his heart all these years. Are you going to run away from me and return to him? There is nothing I can't give you. Do you understand?" Evelyn's chin hurt from being pinched, but mostly it was her heart aching for the things she wanted that Harvey could not give. "Harvey, why do you only take things by force? Under such circumstances, how could I possibly choose you? How could I be so cruel as to leave knowing that someone loved me more than his own life?" Harvey had fought tooth and nail to win over Evelyn. Was Evelyn so naive to think that she could end everything with Harvey so easily? What measures would Harvey take to snatch back Evelyn from Timothy? Or would he dare to end the chapter of Timothy, whose life was hanging by a thread once and for all? Episode 95, The Final Goodbye. Evelyn was silent and looked at Harvey helplessly. This was the first time Harvey had seen such a painful look in her eyes. It was so unfamiliar that it made his breathing erratic. Unconsciously, Harvey let go of the hand he clasped. The anger he had nowhere to vent the anger he was experiencing, which caused a painful feeling in his chest. There was nothing he could do about the current Evelyn. She was so weak she looked ready to fall over, yet her sad eyes still held a hint of stubbornness. So what if he did not let her see him now? She was Evelyn, so stubborn that he could not control her, as she would just come back at another time to meet that damn man. This was something he could not stop. He had a lot of emotions that he wanted to release, but when he looked at Evelyn's, even someone as ruthless as Harvey softened his stance. Because I want you so much, I'll be a little gentle with you. You won't be able to escape me, Evelyn, as you are the person I want. Go see him. After you visit him, say what you must to him and then return to me. You are the woman I have been waiting for, and I will allow this as I adore you. But don't make me wait too long. After Harvey finished speaking, he bent down and kissed her lips in an overbearing manner. Evelyn wanted to struggle, but she was pressed against the wall. The wild kiss seemed like it would possess her fully, and the scent of Harvey invaded her senses. After the intense kiss, Harvey let go of Evelyn, a little out of breath, as he arrogantly wiped his thin lips, narrowed his eyes, and stared at her for a few seconds before turning around and leaving. Evelyn leaned against the wall and watched his tall figure slowly retreat. In the end, where would she end up? Evelyn turned around and stumbled towards the corridor where Timothy was a patient. The two of them were walking in two different directions, just like fate. Cindy kept her head down, but when she saw Evelyn appear in the corridor again, her mouth curled up as if she wanted to smile. Evelyn walked over to hug her. Evelyn let go of Cindy when they had reached the door to Timothy's room. Evelyn opened the door with a shaking hand and walked in. She saw Timothy watching TV. When he heard the door open, he must have thought Cindy alone had come in. Evelyn smiled and said, "I don't think I can watch enough of this commercial, as my dress in it looks so beautiful." His head spun around, and Timothy saw Evelyn standing in front of him. He instantly froze. Her eyes were red and her face was pale. It was obvious that she had just cried. Even the tears at the corners of her eyes had not dried yet. Timothy looked at her and sighed. From her appearance, Timothy could roughly guess what had happened. How much did she know about his illness? "Do you already know?" Timothy tried his best to smile. He did not want to look pale in front of her, even though he wore a hospital gown. There was no way he could not look good in front of Evelyn. Evelyn closed the door and walked toward him in silence. Her commercial was on the TV, making her heart ache all over again. Whether he still loved her as deeply as he did before did not need to be verified. Evelyn walked to his side and stood still as she asked, "Why didn't you tell me? If I hadn't gone to your university, bumped into your old professor, found the book and discovered your secret, how long would you have hidden it from me? For the rest of your life?" Timothy smiled bitterly and nodded. "Yes, I plan to hide it for the rest of my life." Evelyn felt a sudden rush of anger and slapped Timothy before she could think about her actions. The sound of the slap echoed through the room as Timothy just stared at her. The slap didn't hurt him nearly as much as it pained Evelyn, who cried. Evelyn clenched her hands and bit her lips in pain as tears streamed down her face. Timothy looked at her trembling and crying face and felt his heartache. He sighed and pulled her into his arms. "I'm sorry." Evelyn leaned against his warm chest and sobbed. "You always say sorry. It has been like this, with you always apologizing when you hurt me. You know I do not want to hear it at all. From the beginning, I didn't want to be sorry. I chased you so hard. Do you think I wanted to be pushed away and then later to be told you were sorry?
I didn't dare to tell you. This is not an ordinary disease. Even the doctors don't know when I will get sick. The risk of surgery is very high, and even success could cause rejection of the organ later. I am not bound to live a long life, so I didn't want to be with you in such a sorry state. You have already experienced grief over the loss of your parents once. I don't want you to suffer this pain again.
Timothy gently admitted as he stroked her hair. So, you pushed me away? Who gave you the right to make this decision for me? Evelyn broke free from his embrace and pointedly looked at him. I was hoping for a lifetime with the person I love. With you. But you decided to keep your feelings hidden from me. I am frustrated with you. What right do you have to decide for me? She was crying so hard that Timothy had no choice but to wipe her face with a tissue. He thought that he alone would take this love to the grave and never have the chance to confess. I'm sorry. If I could go back in time, I'd still say the same thing, even if you don't like it. I still would not want this for you. Evelyn, it's all in the past. You need to stop thinking about it and move forward. Timothy gently consoled her. She covered her mouth and said with a trembling voice, It's all your fault. If you did not make such an unnecessary decision at that time and had been a little more honest, we might not be in this terrible place. Timothy looked at her and smiled sadly.
We would probably be together now. But Evelyn, now you can't be with me. And moreover, you've moved on, haven't you?
Lowering his head, Timothy felt a sharp pain in his chest. Even if she did not want to admit it, she knew their story would not include a reunion. Even if you know everything now and cry for what I did, it still changes nothing. You told me you liked Harvey. Our story can never go full circle back to that moment. Evelyn looked at Timothy as she bowed her head. There was sadness in his eyes. So that was the end for her and Timothy? Was she to return to Harvey's side? Harvey was indeed waiting for her, but how could she leave Timothy behind? How could she leave this person who loved her deeply and protected her the entire time? How could she possibly do such a thing? She had to think. Timothy, I will come back again. I will come back to see you tomorrow. Have a good rest. Evelyn raised her hand to wipe away her tears as she spoke. Timothy shook his head. His lips were pale, but he still smiled gently.
No need, Evelyn. You don't need to worry about me, as I know you have work to do. You don't need to.
I won't listen to you anymore. Evelyn looked at him and said stubbornly, From now on, I don't want you deciding things for me, as I can make up my mind. Anyway, you should rest well today. After Evelyn finished speaking, she walked out. Cindy stood outside the door and did not know what to say when she saw her. Evelyn did not leave the hospital immediately, but took a deep breath and said, Cindy, take me to see the doctor in charge of Timothy. Cindy did as she asked and gave the doctor permission to tell Evelyn everything about Timothy's medical signatory. Finally, as they came out of Dr. Jeff Larson's office, Evelyn's legs were shaking and she almost fell to the ground. But Cindy supported her and whispered, Evelyn, I know this is a lot to take in, but this is already a foregone conclusion. Evelyn's face was pale as she held onto the wall and blinked her watery eyes. She said with difficulty, Cindy, I never knew that he carried so much on his own. Cindy bitterly replied, I also never knew. He even hid it from me, his younger sister. The two of them walked outside and sat on the lawn bench. The summer wind was hot and dry as they sat silently. Evelyn remembered a time when they had done this very thing, back when Timothy was in college. The two of them waited outside for him when he was a student. She could remember how spirited and handsome he was. The teachers admired him and the students worshipped him. And now they were outside the hospital, with him inside, and everything was different. The world was unpredictable. The past was gone, but how could they look to the future? Would he still be there in that future? The doctor said that the success rate of the surgery could not be predicted. He had instructed Timothy to consider these days his last and finish his business. Let him be happy. Let him hope for those left behind. Evelyn clenched her hands, and the sun was so hot that she felt dizzy. Her pale lips parted slightly, and Evelyn asked Cindy,
"Do you think we can still go back? Can we repair all the regrets left behind in the past?"
Cindy shook her head bitterly. "I don't know." She did not know about the things that were too late and wrong. She also did not know about the matter between Timothy and Evelyn.
"We just need to start over, as I don't think we can rewind time,"
Evelyn said as she stood up. Cindy looked at her and caught her hand. She whispered, "Evelyn, I know Harvey is what you want now. Don't force yourself. You can't go against your own heart because of your happiness. My brother doesn't want you to be like this. He just wants you to be happy. Timothy is such a good person. I can't bear it. Cindy, why don't you let him ask himself what he wants? Putting aside cowardice, fear, and kindness, ask for what he desires most sincerely. Has he never wanted to be with someone he loves?" Evelyn lowered her head and said, "I think that no matter if the earth was going to be destroyed and the world disappeared, I still would want to be with the person I love. To love someone is to want to be with that person, of course, and be selfish and desperate in regards to that person." Cindy could not say a word, as this was her brother of whom they spoke. She still hoped that her brother would be happy. In the end, he still couldn't be with the person he liked. How pitiful that would be for her brother. Cindy let go of Evelyn's hand and said, "I also hope that my brother is happy." Evelyn nodded. "Yes, I know you have already done very well by him. You have nothing to do here. We will decide this matter between Timothy and me." Evelyn turned around and walked out of the hospital. She needed to consider things carefully, and she had a few ideas in mind when she saw Timothy and Dr. Jeff Larson down the hallway. She had been afraid of losing someone important from the beginning. She could no longer let Timothy down. She let them pass out of sight and went home to think about all she had learned. She sat with her phone held tightly in her grip until 9 o'clock at night without turning on the light. She thought about a lot of things. The next morning, Evelyn woke up early and called her manager to resign her position at the restaurant. The manager was shocked. "What? You want to resign?" Evelyn dragged her tired body and nodded. "Yes, I'm sorry. I've been preparing for the autumn designer competition. Then something happened in my family, and I need to stay with them during hospitalization, so I can't come to work." "You can just ask for leave. How long will it take? I'll let you have as long as you want." Evelyn apologized. "I'm sorry. I don't know how long it will take before things change, but I hope you can approve it as an open-ended leave." "Well, I'll tell you the truth. I don't dare to decide myself. You came here because of Harvey Cage calling in a favor, and you will need his permission for a leave of absence. It will be fine no matter how many days, as long as he can approve." Evelyn pursed her lips and fell silent. Harvey. To be honest, she didn't know how to discuss everything with Harvey yet. She liked Harvey now and didn't deny it. She and Harvey, though, were never meant to go the distance. The two of them were from two different worlds. Even if they were trying to make things work, they would eventually need to walk different paths. He would not love her, would not give her love, and always tried to control her in a bubble. She already knew the outcome of her relationship with Harvey. She had selfishly stayed by his side because she wanted to enjoy this euphoria they had in the early days of their time together. However, now that Timothy was facing such a situation, she had to say goodbye to Harvey. "Harvey, I like you very much, but it's time for me to vanish from your life. People have a lot of things so important they don't want to lose them so that they don't regret it in the future. What I have to do now is to make Timothy happy. Let's meet." That was all Evelyn said when Harvey picked up the phone when she called. Would his obsession with Evelyn lead him to do something impulsive? Would Evelyn's decision to meet Harvey at such delicate times bring the monster hidden within him out again? Episode 96, Unrelenting Harvey. Harvey was a mile away. He had been worrying about her all morning, but he had a bad feeling as soon as he heard her voice. "If you want to see me, wait for me at the house," Harvey said coldly. Evelyn frowned and bit her lips. "I want to see you outside. Or are you in the office right now? I can come to you." Harvey pondered for a moment and finally said, "All right, come to the office." Harvey hung up the phone and looked at the jewelry box next to him in the passenger seat. He had asked someone to bring the necklace to him yesterday. Harvey looked at it in silence. He felt a strange irritation as he realized every time he tried to give her a gift it had been unsuccessful. He had a feeling that she was turning away from him again. He had found someone to investigate Timothy's illness. The situation was not good, and he wondered what Evelyn would do now that she found out about it. Harvey didn't want to know what decision she would make, but he couldn't stop thinking that she had already made her choice. When she arrived at the office, an assistant was already waiting for her. Evelyn was brought to the CEO's office on the top floor of the building. "Miss Petal, please go in. Mr. Cage is waiting for you," the lady said. "Okay, thank you," Evelyn said. She took a deep breath and opened the door to Harvey's office. Evelyn walked in and saw Harvey sitting on the sofa in a suit, looking directly at her. Evelyn hesitated for a moment and said in a low tone, "I'm sorry for letting you leave the hospital alone yesterday." "Sit down." Harvey's cold face did not show any emotion. His voice was also calm and distant. "I don't mind what happened yesterday, but now it seems like we need to talk." Evelyn bit her lower lip. She already had a feeling that things would end badly. She walked over nervously and sat down. Harvey pushed the coffee in front of her and calmly waited for her to speak first. Evelyn put her hands on her knees and played with her skirt. Harvey kept quiet, so she had to say something. Evelyn started with difficulty. "I wanted to leave my job at the restaurant, but thought possibly to take a leave of absence from the restaurant. Since you were the one who recommended me and have the clout, the manager would only approve if you agree." "And then? What will you do after you don't have to work each day?" Harvey asked coldly. Evelyn trembled and whispered, "I have to take care of Timothy. He might not have much time left. With a bang, the cup fell heavily on the table. Harvey said coldly, "Evelyn, I won't let you do this." Evelyn raised her head and looked into a pair of inky black eyes, sparking with anger. She just stared at him like that. He was so overbearing that he wouldn't let her go to another man's side. He had always been like this, refusing to let her go, completely different from Timothy. Perhaps it was because of this difference that she fell in love with him. Evelyn felt very uncomfortable, and she said, "I'm sorry. I will have to refuse to be with you again. Let's end this once and for all. Harvey, you can have any woman you want, but Timothy is different." "Evelyn, are you trying to piss me off?" Harvey looked at her, and his anger rose higher. Harvey suddenly grabbed her hands and pressed her back into the sofa. He looked down at her and said, "Are you playing with me? I remember I told you clearly that I wanted you and that you were the only woman I wanted. You want me to find another woman now? Who do you think you are, ordering me about like that? What does that man have to do with me? I don't care if he will die soon. You will remain by my side." Evelyn's wrist hurt from being held so tightly by him. She struggled to reply, "I don't belong to you. I am not your woman, and I can make my own choices. Let go of me, Harvey." Harvey looked down at her coldly. He had never got what he wanted from her, and this was the first time he wanted to have someone like her. She was the one who approached him first, and it was her fault. She was the one who provoked him. "It seems like your mouth is still stubborn. Let's ask your body whose woman you are." Harvey suddenly pulled off his tie and held her hands together. Evelyn was stunned. She realized that Harvey had gone crazy. She looked at him in horror. "Harvey, let me go! What are you doing?" Harvey tied her hands behind her back with his tie and looked at her darkly. "Evelyn, stay with me. You cannot go to that man, understand?" Evelyn was scared. Her lips trembled as fear gripped her. "Don't do this kind of thing, Harvey. Don't make me hate you. Let me go." "What I want now is an answer." Harvey was furious. Once she was released, she would have to escape from here. Evelyn looked at Harvey like a frightened bird. The look in her eyes made Harvey uncomfortable. Harvey bent over and kissed her lips forcefully. Evelyn struggled with all her might, and Harvey lifted her skirt in a way that she hated. The strange emotions in his body piled up into a crazy possessiveness. Harvey leaned over and kissed Evelyn fiercely. He had to make her understand who he was. "Harvey, let go! No, no!" Harvey hugged her tightly as he kissed her wildly. However, Evelyn felt pain. She didn't know whether it was in her heart or her body, but she felt like she was going crazy from the agony. "Evelyn, your body and heart are all mine. I want all of you." The cold voice was one that Evelyn had never heard from him before. It was like the whisper of a devil, making her soul tremble. Evelyn's heart was aching so much that it stole her breath from her body. Evelyn cast a sidelong glance at him. That face was unfamiliar and cold, and it was frightening. He didn't want my body and heart. This man only wanted to possess me. She knew it from the beginning, but he couldn't give her true feelings. He just needed to have power over her mind and body. How could this be? Harvey, you're a bastard. Evelyn's eyes were filled with tears. Her gaze fell on his shoulder, and she bit him as hard as possible. I hate the cold man he is in this moment, and all the gentleness is now gone. As soon as she saw an opening and tried to escape, he pounced on her again. Harvey felt a sudden pain in his shoulder. The emotions in his heart burst through as he opened his mouth and bit Evelyn's fair neck. They both felt pain bestowed upon each other. Harvey held her and panted for a while before he lifted his hand and untied the tie on Evelyn's hands. After the tie was loosened, Evelyn raised her hand and slapped Harvey. Harvey squatted down and looked up at her with empty eyes. Evelyn was crying. Harvey stood up quietly and looked down at her. With his lust cooled down, his reasoning returned, and he immediately realized that his behavior was atrocious. Evelyn just cried like that, as if she wanted to cry out all the pain and suffering in her heart. She liked Harvey. She liked him, but she couldn't be with him as he continued to use her feelings to hurt her. Evelyn stood up, trembling. She staggered toward the door, trying to exit. Harvey grabbed her arm and tried to soften his voice. You can't leave like this. Don't go. Evelyn took a deep breath and wiped away the tears on her face. Let go. No. Harvey knew she was about to leave. He reached out and pulled her back into his arms. Harvey hugged her tightly and said, I admit I've gone too far, but that's because you said something that annoyed me. Go wash up first, and then we can talk after you finish. Evelyn no longer felt the warmth of his hug. At this moment, she only felt that this hug was a cold vice grip holding her against her will. Silently, she wiggled away from Harvey and went to the bathroom. She let the water wash her face and took a cloth to wipe down her face with her thoughts in disarray. After taking a shower, Evelyn stood in front of the dressing mirror and saw the bite marks on her neck. Harvey's atrocities were laid out in front of her. He might be furious, but he shouldn't have done this to her. She understood that this would not have happened to her if she had always been with Timothy. Evelyn muttered, Harvey, you bastard, with a bitter smile. Bastard. Why should I like a bastard like you? Why should I suffer for the sake of your feelings? I knew you'd be angry at my refusal, but I came because I still wanted to see you. But you failed to live up to the respect I was trying to show. Evelyn walked out and saw Harvey still sitting on the sofa in his suit. She did not know what he was thinking. Evelyn stood on the spot and said in a low voice, I have considered it. I will contact the best doctor and find him the most suitable heart. Harvey suddenly said seriously, It will reduce the probability of death, and then you can stay with me. Evelyn, I also need you, so don't make me beg. His cold eyes were firm and serious. Evelyn blinked her watery eyes. Evelyn felt a sharp pain in her heart. He didn't want to let go because he was the predator that needed to be powerful in all aspects of his life. Nothing to do with love. Nothing at all. Evelyn took a step back and grabbed the corner of her dress. You don't understand. It has nothing to do with this. I'm leaving. I want to go to Timothy's side. If you want to keep me, why don't you try to say you love me? No. Even if you told me such a thing now, I'd go to Timothy. I would know you did so because I forced you. She wanted to go to Timothy's side, to the man deeply in love with her. He always smiled and gently called her name. He would rather sacrifice himself for her. She wanted to go to Timothy because he was the right choice. She turned around, determined in her decision, and Harvey wished he could strangle her to death. How could she be so determined to go to Timothy's side? Evelyn, you want to leave me. Taking large strides forward, Harvey reached out his hand to grab her and forcefully pulled her in front of him. Harvey gritted his teeth and said, There is only one chance. It is not too late for you to return to my side and continue playing your role. Evelyn, offending me will not end well. If you dare to return to that man's side, you will regret leaving me. Evelyn, consider. He had never wanted to threaten her with his power, but now it seemed there was no other way. Evelyn, this is your last chance. Come back to me, quickly. Evelyn's heart was in great pain. The feeling of suffocation was making her shake. Exhausted, Evelyn looked at him and said, "Even without me, you still have the entire world. Because you are Harvey. You have so many things going for you, but Timothy is different. You don't believe in love, but he used his life and everything he had to love me. He only has me. No matter how much happiness you give me, it will only lead to my suffering, because you just want to have me. Timothy loves me. Like today. If it were Timothy, he would smile and let me go, but you would only take me and force me to stay. Even if I were in pain, you would not see it." After moving his hand, Evelyn walked away step by step without looking back. She would remember Harvey's kindness to her. Those emotions that she could not control surfaced in her mind. She held her head up, trying not to let her tears fall, but the pain was great. Why is it so painful to love someone? Harvey clenched his fists tightly and stared at Evelyn as she slowly disappeared out his office door. The pain and anger in his heart could not be calmed down. This damned woman had indeed chosen that man. This was the first time he had been fighting for someone, yet he ended up like this. Harvey thought fiercely. "Evelyn, you will play into my hands, or I will make you pay for your refusal today." Episode 97, By Timothy's Side. In the end, Evelyn did not turn around and left without glancing back. Harvey endured it and did not stop her. He had pride and was already out of line with threatening her to forcibly make her stay. How could she just leave him? The office was extremely quiet. After a while, Harvey lifted his foot and viciously kicked the table. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! Why was he always so upset about Evelyn? Damn it! After Evelyn left the office again, she quietly took a taxi back home. The sun outside was so bright, making it hard to imagine that anything bad could happen on such a beautiful day. Evelyn felt a little tired as she sat on the bed and looked out of the window in a trance. It was as if she could go back to the past in her mind. Go back to before Harvey appeared, so that everything belonged to her and Timothy. Had Harvey not disturbed her heart, she would have been with Timothy despite him being sick. A tear fell from her eyes, but Evelyn did not wipe it away. She just let them flow. In the hospital ward, Cindy put new flowers in a vase. Timothy looked at it and smiled. "Today's flowers are hyacinth. They are so beautiful." Cindy smiled. "Do you like them?" Timothy nodded. "Yes, beautiful flowers always make people feel better." Cindy walked to his side and peeled an apple for him. As she peeled, she asked softly, "Do you wish Evelyn to come for a visit today?" Timothy looked at her and said, "Why do you ask?" Cindy shook her head. "It's nothing. I just want to know what you're thinking about regarding Evelyn." Timothy blinked his brown eyes and said, "I hope she is happy. And if she visits, it is as a friend. She is happy now, and that is how it should be." Cindy stopped the knife in her hand and felt a little powerless. It was as Evelyn had told her. He still wasn't willing to say what was in his heart. After she finished peeling the apple, Cindy put the apple to the side and said, "Evelyn talked to me yesterday. I think she probably wants to be with you, even knowing about your sickness." Timothy frowned and said, "Cindy, why aren't you persuading her? I don't need her to do this for me, as she is with Harvey now." "So what?" Cindy twisted her lips and said stubbornly, "You knew Evelyn first, and she has always liked you very much. If it weren't for your rejection, there wouldn't have been anything between her and Harvey. She's just returning to you, and Harvey is the outsider. What's wrong with that?" Timothy looked at her and was stunned for a moment. He sighed and smiled. "Thank you, Cindy. Thank you for defending me, but this is not the case. She will only be happy if she is with the person she likes now, and that is Harvey, not me. I am not her happiness anymore. There's no point in letting her stay with me." "It's always like this with you." Cindy stood up angrily and clenched her fists tightly. "Be honest with yourself about who has your heart. Don't you want to be with the person you love? Why are you willing to push her to someone else? Please, face your own desires seriously and be honest with yourself. Timothy looked at Cindy, and the smile on his face disappeared. He was alive and able to feel emotions. How could he not have desires?
But this is a little unfair,
Timothy murmured bitterly. Cindy sat on the bed and looked pleadingly at Timothy. She will come back to see you, and I need you to think for yourself. At least for now, when you do not know what will happen in the future, consider allowing yourself to be with the person you love. If she comes, don't reject her anymore. She already knew how good you were to her, so if she leaves Harvey's side for you, please treat her feelings with the respect she deserves. Evelyn knew it was time to put her plan into motion. She changed into a new set of clothes, washed her face, and applied cold compresses to her eyes swollen from crying. She made lunch. It was exactly 11 a.m. Evelyn took a deep breath, packed a lunchbox, and headed out of the house. Evelyn got into the car and arrived at the hospital. She entered the building, took the elevator to the top floor, and stood outside Timothy's room. Evelyn's heart was still beating a little fast. Evelyn knocked on the door and said, "Timothy, I'm coming in." She pushed the door open, and Timothy's parents were inside. Evelyn's heart skipped a beat as she greeted them. "Hello." "Ah, Evelyn is here," Timothy's mother said when she saw Evelyn. Evelyn often went to find Cindy, so their relationship was naturally good. When Timothy saw her, he did not know how he should feel. He was so conflicted. On the other hand, Evelyn smiled at him and raised her hand. "I made lunch for you." Timothy looked at the lunchbox in her hand and curled his lips.
"It's been a long time since I last ate something cooked by you."
"I have the eggplant with a sauce that you like." Evelyn walked over and placed it on the table that swung across the bed to ease eating. Timothy's mother looked at her father, stood up, and said, "Evelyn, we have some matters to attend to. You can stay here with Timothy." Evelyn nodded. "All right, take care." After Evelyn finished serving the food to Timothy, she asked a little awkwardly, "Where's Cindy?"
"I need her to take care of the company for the time being. She's gone,"
Timothy said as he took a bite of eggplant. The familiar taste lingered in his mouth. Timothy smiled with a happy moan.
This taste is still as good as always. You are a true food genius."
Evelyn sat on the edge of the bed and did not speak. She watched him silently eat all the food she had brought. After the meal, Evelyn looked at Timothy and said, "Timothy, do you want to be with me now?" Timothy's heart started pounding. His hand grabbed onto the blanket that lay across his body. "All this time you never returned to me." Timothy lowered his head and did not dare to look into Evelyn's eyes. He whispered,
"Evelyn, are you with Harvey still?"
Evelyn looked at him seriously. "Harvey and I have never started a genuine relationship, and I have now broken things off with him. I just want to know what you think, your true thoughts. Do you want to be with me?" Timothy was silent. The pain in his breathing was spreading in his chest. He knew he should let go of Evelyn completely and chase her away from him, just like he did every time before. However, his heart ached and he couldn't bear to part with her. There was less than a month left. Perhaps this was the end of his life. He had missed her for so long. He wanted to be with her in the time he had remaining. He wanted to know what it was like to be with someone he loved, hold hands for the first time, be kissed for the first time, date, and laugh together for the first time. He wanted it every minute and every second.
"I'm sorry," Timothy said, closing his eyes. "I just want to be with you, even for a second. If only you were mine."
This was the thought that he had been suppressing, and now spoke for the first time to the person he loved. Evelyn's heart tightened. She sat on the bed and threw herself into Timothy's arms. "From now on, I am yours." His chest was still burning hot. Timothy smiled bitterly. He resisted the urge to hug her and said,
"Evelyn, it is not too late to back out now. I will not hate you. I still hope that you will be happy. As a friend, leave this place and go to the person you want to be with."
Evelyn hugged him tightly and muttered stubbornly, "But I thought about being with you since I was 16. I was determined to be with you, but you kept pushing me away time and time again. I still thought you were the best, and now our time has finally arrived. I'm following the memories of our past to walk towards you step by step. I just passed by Harvey as part of my journey back to you. Timothy, we will be together. That's why we have gone through so much to reach each other." Timothy's hand trembled slightly. He reached out and hugged Evelyn close as hot tears soaked her shoulders. Timothy murmured,
"Evelyn, I love you. I have always loved you. I want to be with you. I'm sorry I will leave you because of this disease in my weak body. I'm sorry."
Timothy knew Evelyn was not in love with him at the moment. Perhaps it was because of her kindness, pity, and feelings for him that she stayed. He still wanted her to stay by his side, even if this was just an illusion. Bit by bit, he wanted to store memories of being with her in his last days. Evelyn hugged Timothy tightly and gently caressed his back.
"I know. We are now together. From now on, every bit of time belongs to us."
Someone was using everything he had to love her. Evelyn, who already believed in love, would believe in love even more now, until she died. Evelyn knew she should respond to Timothy's feelings. She should tell him she loved him too. This way the relationship would become perfect. She had no other requests except for Timothy to be affectionate towards her. However, when she opened her mouth, the image of Harvey appeared in her mind. He curled his lips, his cold eyes slightly narrowed, and smiled lazily. He was a devastatingly handsome man. The 3 words were stuck in her throat like fish bones. I can't say them. The sun was setting outside the window of the hospital. Evelyn was sitting, holding Timothy's hand. Timothy looked at her and said gently,
"Are you going to stay with me?"
Evelyn nodded and looked at him with a sidelong glance. "You were determined to hide this from me. And you did good, and acted like nothing was wrong." Timothy grabbed her hand and stroked it against his lips.
"I was in a terrible situation back then. If we could grow old together, I would not have let you go. But I was afraid that you would have to suffer the pain of parting again. But I was wrong."
"I am not as weak as you think, Timothy. Compared to that kind of suffering, the most terrifying feeling is the things you might never know," Evelyn said, holding Timothy's hand tightly. Timothy smiled. His handsome face was smiling serenely as he held her hand. A feeling of happiness welled up in him. It was enough. Even if he died in the next second, his life would be complete.
"I don't want to touch anyone anymore. Because you are by my side, Evelyn, I have become greedy. I don't want to let go of this hand now."
Timothy looked down at her fair and slender hand. He knew why he didn't dare to get close to her. He was afraid that he would never let go of her once he tasted happiness. Evelyn bit her lips and looked at the face that she once loved the most. She tilted her head and leaned on his shoulder. Evelyn muttered, "I want to close my eyes like this. Then we will go back to when we were in college and back to the day when I confessed to you."
"When we get back to that day, I want to give you the dolphin necklace. I bought it intending to give it to you as soon as possible. You wanted to go to the amusement park, didn't you? I will take you there, and then to the aquarium."
If he had promised her that day, Harvey wouldn't have appeared. Timothy couldn't help but think of Harvey, but he was confident that he could treat her better than Harvey. Evelyn closed her eyes and smelled the scent of warm lemongrass on Timothy's body. The smell made her feel at ease. This was the Timothy she had loved, and he was right beside her. She could touch him all she liked at this moment. "After today, let's go to all the places we wanted to go," Evelyn suggested. She was a little lost in thought and plans for the future. Timothy raised his hand and stroked her hair. The loneliness of the past few years disappeared. He had never expected to have her, but now that she was really in his arms, he felt incomparably happy. Soon, Cindy came back and they stayed with Timothy until night. After Cindy and the doctors talked, they decided Timothy could go home and stay for a few days. They had confirmed that his body was relatively stable. So Cindy pulled Evelyn aside and asked, "Have you decided? When my brother goes back to the house, will you take care of him?" Evelyn hesitated, then nodded and said, "Yes, I will. I have already taken leave from work, and I am good to help him in any way he needs. But I have to tell Mark." Would Timothy being on his deathbed be reason enough for Mark to let go of Evelyn? Would Mark finally reveal his true identity to prevent her from being with Timothy? Episode 98, Facing Mark. Cindy knew Mark was difficult to deal with. She looked at the time and said, "The university should end about now. Call him and ask him to come out, and we can meet him near the exit." I'll go with you. Evelyn was also afraid that Mark would find out about this and get angry suddenly. It would be best if Cindy could accompany her. When they were on their way, Evelyn called Mark. Mark was in a good mood when he suddenly received a call from Evelyn. "Hello, sis." "Mark, I'm on my way to your school. I have something to discuss with you. Can you come out and see me?" Evelyn asked. This was the first time Evelyn had something to discuss with him. Mark was stunned and asked, "What is it?" "I can't explain it clearly over the phone. Anyway, Cindy and I will come together. Can you meet me?" Mark was not at school, as he was very busy these last few days and thus had not seen Evelyn. He was worried when she pushed it, though, and he said, "In that case, we can meet in half an hour." "Okay," Evelyn said and hung up the phone. As soon as he hung up the phone, Mark changed out of his suit and went downstairs to his private suite. Wayne immediately frowned when he saw the casual outfit. "Boss, stop messing around and change. We have some business to discuss tonight. Don't stand us up. There are still a few hours until the meeting. Why are you in such a hurry? I will go out first and take care of a personal matter while you guys continue to prepare," Mark said coldly and walked over to Wayne. Wayne kept silently mumbling to himself. He knew that the only person who could control the boss during such an important time was his sister. At this moment, Mark wanted to see Evelyn and hear what she wanted to say. He jumped on his Harley and headed straight for the school. Fortunately, the house was not very far from the school. When he arrived at the coffee shop right inside the entrance to his school, Evelyn and Cindy had just arrived. When Mark saw Evelyn, he threw himself at her and gave her a big hug. "I've missed you so much." Evelyn was embarrassed by his over-the-top behavior. Cindy was already used to it. She glanced at him silently and thought he was such a dramatic for Evelyn. Mark ignored Cindy and walked into the coffee shop with his arms around Evelyn's shoulders. "If there's something urgent, you can call me and I can meet you at home. Why did you come here yourself?" Mark asked Evelyn. Cindy finally couldn't take it anymore. She stared at him and said, "Hi, Mark. I'm here. Don't ignore me." Mark glanced at her coldly and said, "Oh, so you are." Cindy was so angry she just rolled her eyes. The three of them sat down. Mark originally wanted to sit beside Evelyn, but Cindy deliberately snatched his seat for his earlier behavior. After glaring at Cindy, Mark could only sit opposite Evelyn. He looked at Cindy before glancing at Evelyn with narrowed eyes. Mark asked, "Cindy, do you know something about this?" Cindy nodded and turned her head to look at Evelyn. Evelyn looked at Mark with watery eyes. She took a deep breath and said, "Mark, I am in a relationship with Timmy, and I want to tell you what occurred that caused this." Mark was stunned as he stared at Evelyn and couldn't say a word. Was he hallucinating? Was he mistaken about what she just said? What was Evelyn talking about? Was she dating Timothy? How was this possible? How did this happen? When he was on guard against Luke, she came to tell him she was dating Timothy? What kind of joke is this? Mark suddenly flew into a rage. His outburst shook the entire coffee shop, to the point where everyone turned to look at him. Evelyn and Cindy were shocked. Cindy looked at his angry face and sat backward in the booth, stunned by his reaction. Why did he suddenly lose his temper? "Mark, why are you acting like this? There must be a limit to how much you can control your sister. Listen to what we have to say," Cindy said with a confused expression. Her brother was not a bad person. When he heard Evelyn was dating her brother, why did he immediately become angry? It was so strange. Mark stared at her with disgust and said coldly, "Go away. I want to talk to my sister. You have no business here." "Mark, why do you say that?" As Evelyn opened her mouth, Mark's brown eyes looked over. Evelyn immediately felt an undercurrent and turned to direct Cindy away from them. Evelyn said, "Cindy, how about I talk to Mark alone? You go back and I will follow later." Cindy saw Mark's current condition and felt he was dangerous, which left her worried about Evelyn. She held her hand and said, "No, I have to be by your side." Although Evelyn was under a lot of pressure, she did not feel fear. After all, this was her brother. How could she feel fear towards him? "It's fine, Cindy. You can leave," Evelyn said to her. She looked around and saw that everyone was looking at her. Evelyn took a deep breath and said to Mark, "Let's go somewhere else where we can talk." Evelyn didn't expect Mark to be so angry, but when she thought about how she once had cried about Timothy to him and how angry Mark was, she felt he was justifiably upset. She should not have told Mark about her relationship. She should have told Mark first about Timothy's condition and the misunderstanding between him and her. If this was the first topic, Mark would have accepted it. Cindy was frightened by Mark and left worried in the end. Evelyn and Mark walked out, with Evelyn walking in front and Mark silently following behind her. Countless thoughts floated through his mind. He was forcing himself to calm down. His reaction had scared her. They walked to a park where Evelyn sat down on a bench. The summer sun was shining beautifully. Mark silently sat on one side. Maybe it was because Cindy was not here, but Mark did not lose his temper when facing Evelyn. He just sat there, quietly. Evelyn's first sentence was, "I'm sorry." Mark's pupils contracted as he looked at Evelyn. "Why are you apologizing?" Evelyn rubbed her hands together and lowered her head. "Mark, I know we agreed I would not have a boyfriend before you finished college. I had the same plan. But I am sorry. Timothy and I are dating now. I always thought he did not like me. I only realized a few days ago that he had feelings for me. He always did, and over the years did many kind things for me, all while not saying anything about his genuine emotions." Mark clenched his fist tightly. "So, you agreed to date him, even if you break the promise too? Do you like him that much?" Mark clenched his fist tightly. His mind was racing. He could not control his tone as he was gritting his teeth and was full of anger. He needed to remind himself that he had said nothing to her about his true identity, so he would have to keep hiding it. Damn it. He was surprised. He always thought he could keep her away from anyone he wished, but now this happened. Mark's heart was in turmoil, and he could not help but have a lot of dark thoughts. No one could steal Evelyn from him. If anyone wanted to take her, they would pay a steep price. I might as well kill him so that he won't cause trouble again. It's not like that. I didn't break your promise for this reason. Mark, there are many things in this world that we can't see clearly. Mark looked at her slightly sad and beautiful face and was puzzled. What do you mean? Evelyn reached out and took his hand. Mark could feel her hand trembling slightly. Evelyn said, Timothy has a heart problem. He must undergo cardiovascular surgery. The doctor said that the success rate is very low, so the next 1 month is maybe all that he has got. He must treat every day right now as his last to be happy and give happiness in return. Evelyn's eyes turned red as she spoke. She couldn't show it in front of Timothy, but she was scared. She had experienced how fragile human life was. The suffering of losing someone important was truly terrifying. She was scared when she thought about how Timothy was losing his time and life, and how she was powerless to do anything about it. Mark looked down at the hand that was holding him. Her hands were trembling with fear. The world was playing a huge joke on him. He could do anything he wished if she had given other reasons for this decision. He was ready to break them up, even if he had to be tough. However, in front of him were the words life and death. That was what Evelyn feared the most. Both versions of her feared this the same, whether it was the Evelyn whose memories were hidden or the Evelyn who had forgotten everything. Why? Why was this world so unfair? He had always been by her side. It had always been him, not Timothy, not anyone else. The knot in his chest made Mark feel like he was going crazy. Timothy and his sister are already finished. Their time in the future is limited and she will belong to him. Why can't I tell her not to be with Timothy? Don't worry about other people's lives. We need to rely on each other. Mark wanted to shout out loud. However, Mark couldn't say such words now that he knew the truth. Because his sister was very kind and a good woman, that was why he loved her, right? He could not tear off his disguise and expose his cold-bloodedness and cruelty. His other identity couldn't be connected to this Mark. He didn't have the right to hug her with his blood-stained hands. Reaching out his hand and hugging Evelyn tightly, Mark painfully buried his head on her shoulder. I hate that you belong to someone else. This is not what I wanted for you. Evelyn raised her hand and stroked his hair. I'm sorry, Mark. I know you will be lonely, but I can't leave Timothy alone now. I have to take care of him and give him this time with me. I have to give him hope and not leave him with any regrets. What about after the surgery? If the surgery is successful and he survives, will you leave him? Mark asked as he hugged her tightly. Evelyn sighed and said, I do not know what will happen when that time comes. Every day seems like the last, and right now, I have not considered what the future will hold. I only know about the present. Now, what I should do is be by Timothy's side. Mark, you understand, right? My brother is always gentle and understands me. Evelyn's voice was so soft and gentle, as if she was coaxing a spoiled little brother. In the past, if she had anything to ask him, she would use such a soft voice to speak. It was hard to resist. But you know what? The thing you're talking about now, I can't compromise. I'm not a spoiled brother either. I'm a man who's anxious and miserable because his woman is going to be with someone else. Mark held Evelyn's face and moved closer to her without even thinking about it. When he was about to kiss Evelyn, she covered her lips with her hand. Mark's kiss landed on her palm. Evelyn blushed. She could not tell if she was embarrassed or angry. She glared at Mark and snapped, "Mark, you are an adult. You may not do this kind of thing anymore. There is a limit to acting in such a manner. I am your sister." With her previous experience on the baseball field, Evelyn knew sincerely that Mark would not resist kissing her, so she must block him. It was strange. Too strange. Perhaps he was feeling uneasy that his sister had been taken away. Cindy had always made remarks about how close they were. But kissing was not something a brother and sister should do. Mark looked into Evelyn's stern eyes and smiled sadly. He must be out of sorts, because he was in too much pain and now wished he could be like before, fooling around with her and getting away with it. Mark stood up and said, feeling a little discouraged, "I don't want you to be with Timothy, but I also know I can't stop you. I don't want to go home for now. I won't see you for the time being." He couldn't look at Evelyn, who would move in with Timothy. He didn't know what terrible thing his temper would get him to do if he continued here. Forget it. He would suppress himself until Timothy finished the surgery. Mark thought selfishly that it would be best for him to die on the operating table or leave his sister after the surgery was over. Otherwise, he would snatch Evelyn away at any cost. He wasn't a good man from the beginning. However, he was more like an awkward child in Evelyn's eyes. Mark turned to leave, and Evelyn's heart sank as she stood up to call to him. "Mark!" Mark paused for a moment, but he didn't turn around before continuing to walk. Evelyn looked at his back. The lonely back made her feel uncomfortable. She felt sorry for Mark, but she didn't know what to do. What would she say if she stopped him? Nothing could comfort him. He was her brother and the person she cared about the most. However, why was it that when she thought about things, she felt as if a piece of her heart was missing, making it difficult for her to breathe? Did she leave that piece of heart with Harvey when she left him? Evelyn sighed deeply and sat back down. How long could she run away from this question? If the operation was successful, what would she do? Would she leave Timothy? Episode 99, The Race. If the operation was successful, Timothy would still be the best man in the world, the person she used to love the most. She would be thrilled to be with him. Timothy would give her all the good things she had once fantasized about. Evelyn put her hands in her pockets and exhaled hard, trying not to cry. Her phone rang. Evelyn picked it up and saw that it was the restaurant manager. Her heart suddenly jumped, and she quickly connected the call. "Evelyn." "Yes? What's wrong?" Evelyn asked. She knew what he wanted to talk to her about. It was probably Harvey's reply. Harvey was so stubborn, so high and mighty, that he wouldn't listen to the demands of others. "Mr. Cage called. He said that your matter has nothing to do with him anymore." Evelyn heard the manager's voice from the other side of the line and felt a shiver run down her spine. She should have known it would be like this. The high and mighty Harvey, who could have any woman he wanted, did not care about her. He said he wanted her to stay. He had already made the biggest concession for her, yet she still left him. So, he really would not get entangled with her anymore. She understood everything. These were the rules of the game. She had lost the right to stand on the chessboard. But why did her heart hurt? Why is it so painful? "From now on, Harvey, we have nothing to do with each other anymore. We are strangers," she thought. Evelyn reluctantly ended the conversation with the manager and hung up the phone. She sat alone in the park that was filled with laughter. Evelyn raised her hand to cover her closed eyes, afraid that tears would fall when she opened them. She made her own decision, but she could not be strong. It was so embarrassing. If Harvey saw her hesitating like this, he would laugh at her. But there was nothing she could do about it. She couldn't make it all cut and dried as he could. After sitting there for an unknown period, the phone rang again. Evelyn took out the device and saw it was Cindy, so she answered the phone. "Evelyn, how's your discussion going?" Evelyn hurriedly said, we've already talked about it. I stayed in the park for a while to pass the time. You can drive over. It's the park on Xavier Road." "Okay, I'll be there shortly." Cindy was relieved to hear that her voice was normal. It wasn't frequently Mark acted so scarily. She was really worried that he would do something terrible. Cindy picked up Evelyn, still plagued with some lingering fear. "I say, Mark really needs to have his sister complex looked at by a professional. How can he still be like this?" Evelyn smiled at her. "He's just worried about me. It's fine. Cindy, let's go to the house so I can pack some things, and then I can go with you to Timothy's house. I will surprise Timothy tomorrow when he wakes up to me there." "Okay." Cindy nodded happily and drove. Evelyn leaned against the window and looked out of it. Her thoughts gradually drifted farther away. On the way, she passed by the advertisement and could not help but think of the night that she was in front of the French window, smiling at Harvey's surprise. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Harvey dealt with the heaviness of his feelings. Outside the window, it rained. At night, in the presidential suite of the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, Harvey impatiently pushed away from the woman on top of him and said, "You can leave now." The woman on the bed hadn't even finished taking off her clothes. She was a little shocked. "Harvey, where did I make you uncomfortable? It doesn't matter. I'm not interested anymore, and you can leave now," Harvey said coldly. The woman felt disappointed, as she had felt lucky when he picked her up earlier. She quickly put on her clothes and went out. The suite's door opened, and Zach saw the woman push her way out, so he stopped her to say, "I will contact you again and promise you will be well compensated." "Thank you, Zach," the woman said and left in a hurry. Zach walked into the suite and continued through the space until he reached the bedroom. He stood in front of the door and looked at Harvey, who was wearing a bathrobe in front of the window. "Should we find a woman like her?" Zach asked. Harvey's expression became even colder. His voice sounded extremely displeased. "Zach, do you think I can't forget her?" Zach shook his head. "No, I don't mean that. I just think you still care about her." Harvey smiled coldly. His eyes fell on Evelyn's advertisement billboard outside the window. "Yes, I do. After all, she was the first one to reject me like this. How could I not care about a woman who left me for another man?" Harvey closed the curtains and spat out coldly. "The summer is about to pass. All the advertisements need to be taken down. We will change the advertisement for the autumn collection tomorrow." "Yes, sir." Zach leaned over and thought that his boss was angry this time. He wondered what would happen to Evelyn. Harvey turned to look at Zach and said, "You still haven't gone to see Raquel?" Zach held his hand and said, "Actually, my mother arranged a blind date for me. It will be the day after tomorrow." Harvey frowned. "What do you mean?" "I will refuse the woman afterward. I know that Raquel's father has pressured my mother to marry me off, but I will convince my mother the woman is not the right one. I need my mother's consent before I can go to Raquel, and trying to give someone else a chance is the best way to earn that," Zach said with a bitter smile. "It will take a long time for me to win over Raquel's father. I visited him a few more times, but I didn't see anyone when I was there." Harvey smiled coldly. "If you want to run away with Raquel, I will provide you the best way out possible, and can guarantee people won't be able to find you." "I will keep that in mind. Thank you, Harvey. You always have my back," Zach said sincerely before he left. Harvey stood in front of the window and opened it to look at the billboard outside. The woman on it was so beautiful, and it seemed as if she was looking at him. Harvey didn't understand why things had to turn out like this. He didn't understand love, didn't understand people who act for love. Raquel would defy the entire Cage family for Zach's sake. Even if she were continuously rejected, she would not give up on Zach. Zach endured for Raquel's sake and went to her house to ask for her hand in marriage. Even though he was injured and under duress, he did not give up. Timothy pushed her away because he loved Evelyn and feared that she would be sad about his fate. Evelyn could not let go of him because she had been deeply in love. She wanted nothing that Harvey had given her and went to the side of a dying man without hesitation. Love. Why do you all believe in love? Looking at Evelyn's face on the billboard, Harvey felt increasingly irritated. Especially you, Evelyn. How could you not care about what I said? I declared I needed you, but you still insisted on going to another man. If I have everything, why can't I have you? He turned around gloomily. He could forget about sleeping tonight. Harvey changed into a suit and went out. He drove back to his house and took his motorcycle out for a ride. At this time of the night, there should be people racing in the suburbs at a track he knew. Harvey was so upset that he was ready to go for a few rounds to release the anger. The roads were noisy at night as the rain danced on the surface. "We won't make any money tonight." After smoking a cigarette, the organizer shrugged his shoulders. "There's an audience even in this weather, but no one comes out to compete." There was money to be made from the competitions. Mark wore a helmet and sat at the side of the track, talking to the organizer. He said in a muffled voice, "Hurry and find someone I can start with." Mark, who was in a bad mood, could only think of one way to get rid of his anger, and that was by racing. He occasionally attended the racing events on this track, and he was very familiar with the organizers. This was because he would always win. As long as he came, the crowd would get heated. The organizers looked at Mark with a troubled gaze and said, "It's not that I don't want to find someone to race you, but there is danger on the rainy roads. No one dares to come out tonight." The sound of an engine came from the entrance as they were talking. Soon, the motorcycle arrived, and the organizer's eyes lit up when he saw the newcomer. "It's been a long time since I've been here. Why is there no one here today?" The man in the helmet asked the man. Everyone was wearing helmets with logos. They did not want their faces to be seen. Harvey was not in a good mood. "Is anyone coming out to compete?" he barked. The organizer was thrilled to finally have a competitor. Since the competition was in such dangerous weather, they would make a lot of money tonight. The man immediately said excitedly, "Of course there is. Winners have to be against winners tonight, and you have made it in time. Both of you are undefeatable warriors on this circuit track." Mark and Harvey exchanged a glance. They didn't recognize each other, but they nodded in greeting. The organizers only thought it was a competition between two experts, so they maintained an air of indifference. No one knew that these two people were here because of the same woman. Harvey, of course, would be thrilled to have someone racing with him. Alcohol could not relieve his boredom, so he wanted to get out on the track tonight. Mark felt the same way. The host of the competition shouted at the audience. Although it was raining, the atmosphere was still fanatical. Because there was a private broadcast, even if there was no audience in attendance, there was still a way to make money from this race. The two of them were evenly matched, and the scene was explosive. The model raised the flag and shouted, "Go!" The two motorcycles charged out like wild horses, roaring as they raced down the first side of the track. The path was dangerous from the mud and the rain, but it was also exciting. Rain would not affect the competition too much. The host looked at the sky and only hoped that the rain would not suddenly become much heavier. However, the heavens did not grant their wishes. When Harvey and Mark came down the backstretch, the rain became torrential. Mark looked at Harvey, who was next to him, and screamed over the engines, "It's pouring! Stop showing off! Slow down!" Harvey felt like he was being looked down upon. He raised his brows coldly and retorted, "You should be the one slowing down. It won't look good if you fall later." As the two of them spoke, neither of them slowed down. They sped over one bend after another, and the track lit up with a green light to guide the two of them in the rain. With the finish line in sight, they were about to cross the line side by side. In the pouring rain, Harvey suddenly thought of Evelyn. She didn't seem to like rain. She hated rainy nights. So now to escape the rainy night, she would be curled up in someone's arms? "Evelyn, are you in that man's arms? Under that man?" There was a light click. Harvey was only distracted for a second. He did not notice the sound at all. It was a rock that had rolled down from the hillside beside the track. "Be careful!" Harvey yelled. He felt the bike wheels stick and the machine swerves on the track. Mark did not have time to avoid him. With a loud bang, Mark and Harvey's motorbikes crashed into each other. Almost simultaneously, the two rolled as they fell to the ground together. "Ah!" Evelyn woke up from her dream. She sat on the bed and gasped for breath. "What's wrong, Evelyn?" Because of the rain, Cindy stayed behind to keep her company. Hearing her cry, Cindy immediately got up from her sleep and turned to her in a daze. Evelyn was panting, and just as she wanted to speak, she recalled the contents of her dream and held them back. She shook her head and said, I'm fine. Cindy rubbed her eyes and consoled her. "You must have had a nightmare, as it's raining outside. I know you don't like rain, and I'm sure that this is why you had the dream." Evelyn bit her lip and exhaled. She raised her hand to wipe her forehead. Because she had that fight with Harvey today, she assumed that was why she had this dream. She dreamed that the two of them fell in the mud together. She was scaring herself. How could that kind of thing happen? With Cindy talking to her gently, Evelyn finally lay down again and closed her eyes. It's okay. She's thinking too much. On the other side of the mountain road, Harvey and Mark fell. The motorcycle had been scrapped, and everyone started panicking. Mark and Harvey were sitting by the side of the road, watching the busy crowd panic as they sat there, panting. Fuck, Mark said. My arm is numb. Harvey was worse than him. His whole body was sore, and he did not know where he was bleeding. He said directly, Give me your number and I will reimburse you for the motorcycle and the cost of the medical attention you require. Mark replied coldly and stubbornly, No need to race in this kind of weather. Any injury is my fault. Harvey took out his phone from his pocket. It was completely disabled. He tilted his head and said to Mark, Can you allow me to use your phone? Harvey took off his helmet and threw it aside. He took a deep breath of fresh air. Mark also took off his helmet and took out his phone. His phone was still okay. He raised his eyebrows and said, Tell me the number and I can call for you. Harvey looked at him and was stunned. He didn't expect to bump into Evelyn's brother in such a place. Mark was also surprised when he saw Harvey. He had never thought that such a big shot would come to a race like this. Although he had greeted him on the cruise ship, he naturally pretended to be a stranger. Harvey tried not to think about that right now and said, The number is... Zach was shocked when he received the call. After all, a few hours ago, Harvey was still in the hotel's suite. Why did he suddenly have an accident on a racetrack? Harvey said in a deep voice, Come here, please, and clean up the mess. Yes, sir. Zach sighed as he hung up the phone, and Harvey looked at Mark. He raised his eyebrows and said, Someone will be here soon. It's better not to go to the hospital. Mark shrugged and said, I might have to trouble you to have me patched up then when your people arrive. Mark had no interest in Harvey, as he didn't know about Evelyn and him. However, Mark was curious about him for completely different reasons. Harvey had the idea of questioning Mark. Now that he had become estranged from Evelyn, he had the chance to find out more about her brother without her knowing. My name is Harvey. What's your name? Harvey asked Mark. Episode 100. Surprise for Timothy. Mark, confident that there was no need to hide his true identity, revealed to Harvey, I am Mark. Do you come here often to race? Yeah, I occasionally come here to earn some extra money. Harvey narrowed his eyes and curled his lips. I didn't expect to be tricked by a small stone today. Why don't we exchange phone numbers and have a competition next time? Let's see who's better. A small stone had messed up everything. It wasn't very pleasant. Whether it was the small stone or Evelyn, they always liked to mess up other people's plans. Mark was arrogant and did not think he would lose to Harvey. He raised his eyebrows and said, I am certain I will win. Tell me your number and I'll save it. Just like that, the two of them exchanged contact information. Harvey had already told the organizers not to call an ambulance, so the audience was dismissed. The organizers were retreating, and only Harvey and Mark were left leaning up against the abandoned concession stand, looking quite relaxed. The rain kept pouring down and soaking them. You're bleeding pretty heavily. Do you want to bandage your wound? Mark asked as he looked at Harvey. Harvey raised his eyebrows. No need. I hurt nothing important. It doesn't hurt much. As for you, is your arm doing fine? Mark curled his lips as he glanced at the wound on his shoulder. This injury is nothing. Compared to the loss of my bike, this doesn't bother me. Do you have any cigarettes? Harvey's eyes flashed coldly. Unfortunately, I don't smoke, but I have them in my car that will be here to pick me up shortly. You can smoke one while I have my guy bandage it up. He wondered if something to do with Evelyn could be bothering Mark tonight. Right now, his mind was filled with thoughts of Evelyn. Mark took a deep breath and squinted at the curtain of rain. It was probably because the rain reminded him a lot of things that Mark, who never wanted to tell anyone about his emotions, actually thought of chatting with Harvey. So say, one person uses his impending death to emotionally force another person to stay with him. The woman in question is too kind, so she can't let go of him. She wants to spend these last days with him. What the fuck is that? Mark asked harshly. Harvey smiled coldly. Why would someone do that?
If you are to die, then hurry and die. Don't drag others down with you."
Mark was startled. He didn't expect Harvey to be so straightforward. He was impressed.
"Not bad. You are indeed spot on in your opinions."
Harvey said nothing. He was seething inside.
Mark raised his head dejectedly and said in a daze, "If the man dies, one just forgets all about him. Although my words might sound cruel, this can be considered a good ending. The woman can continue to live her life. But what if the man survives?
What should the woman do then? Would the woman tell the man that everything between them was fake and she was with him just because he was dying? No, the woman wouldn't do that because she is kind and she still loves him. So then what? Does she agree to marry him and ask others to give their blessings with tears in her eyes?" Harvey knew who Mark was talking about. He thought for a while and said,
"If he survives, we will have to ask him to live his life without her. If he refuses, we will ensure he dies."
He had never thought about the other man surviving, but Harvey's heart suddenly moved after hearing what Mark said. That would be fair competition, and snatching her away would be his right. That wouldn't be Harvey bullying the weak. He wouldn't be that heartless. Harvey suddenly felt that this wasn't a dead end. No matter how he thought about it, he could still snatch her away. It was good that the other party would be dead.
If he did not die, he could take Evelyn with no guilty conscience. He needed to release her now, but would capture her even more tightly when the time was right. The small stone hurt him a little, but now he was suddenly grateful for the stone, as it had caused this discussion to ensue. "I find that you and I have quite the same temper. We should have a drink together if we have the chance. And if you don't mind how young I am," Mark said. He admired Harvey more after his blunt answers. He immediately thought of everything he had been through today. "If you're no threat to little Evelyn and me, I'll be glad to have a drink with you," Harvey thought. Zach arrived shortly after that. When he saw Harvey, he held his umbrella, strode over, and said with a serious face, "Sir, I can see you were not careful. You should remember that you are not responsible for just yourself, but for so many others as well." Harvey's dark eyes lit up again because he had figured something out during Zach's arrival delay. He said calmly, "Let's start the lecture later. Let me introduce you. This is my new friend, Mark." "Hello," Mark said, raising his hand in greeting. Zach knew Harvey was up to something. Knowing that he was probably playing some new trick, he said respectfully, "Hello, I am an assistant at the cage company. If you have anything that needs patching up, please follow the medical staff to that vehicle over there." He pointed into the distance, where an ambulance pulled up without lights. "I will stay to deal with the cleanup here." Soon they were in the ambulance and headed away from the area. Harvey didn't care about the injuries on his body at all. His mind was charged up. "Evelyn, I don't think it will be easy for you to escape. It is easy to give up on you, but it will still make me happier if you belong to me." When she woke up in the morning, the sky was already clear. Evelyn opened the curtains to look at the sunflowers outside the window. Cindy looked at her in her pajamas and suddenly jumped off the bed to walk and hugged her slim waist from behind. With an impulse, Cindy opened her mouth and said, "How are you? I had hoped you would see the sunflowers there last night, but you only noticed them now. Do you like them?" The corner of Evelyn's mouth twitched and she sighed helplessly. "This is your brother's house, and he has this amazing patch of sunflowers here. It seems out of place somehow." Cindy shrugged her shoulders and let go of her. She stood with her in front of the window to look at the sunflowers outside the window and said, "In the past, every time I saw this sunflower, I would feel strange, because this kind of flower was not that beautiful to look at. I'm not sure why he likes a plant such as this flower. When he was overseas, he asked others to take care of them here. And now seeing you gazing at them, I know why he did all of that." Evelyn's heart skipped a beat. Looking at the sunflowers, she mumbled, "Why?" Cindy smiled and said, "Because the flowers probably replaced you. You always smiled when you were in school, especially when looking at my brother. Do you still remember when I told you you were like a sunflower? My brother is like the sun, and you are like a sunflower, always chasing after him. I have told my brother about this matter. Before I knew he loved you, I had never thought too much about it. Now that I think about it, I think he looked at these sunflowers just like you still look at him." Evelyn's heart tightened. Taking a deep breath, Evelyn raised her head and said with a smile, "Quickly, go and fetch him. I will wait here for you guys to come back. I can't wait to see him open the door and see me here." Cindy smiled. "He is going to be so shocked. He won't be able to say anything." Turning around, Cindy went to change her clothes.
Evelyn looked at the courtyard and suddenly heard another voice in her head. If it's me, I'd probably give you some roses. Harvey wanted nothing to do with her, but she still felt like he was everywhere. Harvey, why are you no longer by my side? Everything about you is getting better. I imagine you saying all the right things and speaking the words I wish to hear. Though I have nothing to do with you anymore, I feel you will haunt my thoughts forever. As for Harvey, he was sitting on the bed naked with a bandage around his waist in his house. Mark had left after he was bandaged last night. Harvey sent someone to see him off and did not bother with him anymore after that. Regarding the matter of Mark, there was a long way to go. He didn't want to get close to him and pump him for information, so he let him be. Harvey was injured and couldn't go to the company today, so he decided to stay in bed. Zach was forced to report on his work. He pushed his glasses up and said unhappily, Sir, I have a lot of things to do today. Can you please stop creating unnecessary trouble for me? Harvey raised his eyebrows and said, The world is unpredictable, and I've finally experienced it. What a precious experience. Sir, I have a lot of work to attend to. Please don't confuse me, Zach said sternly, pushing up his glasses. Harvey reacted little to his comment. He curled his lips and said, Don't forget about the advertisements on the billboards. I think the poster needs to be replaced, and I have something new that I need you to do. Zach frowned. He had a bad feeling about this. First, he had asked to remove the posters, and now he had some new plan ready for Evelyn. Sir, what are you thinking? Zach asked nervously. Harvey nodded and did not hide his evil thoughts at all. He said arrogantly, I think you must be anxious about me getting hurt. Because you are worried, you will go to the person who distracted me and see that they take responsibility. He said it seriously, but Harvey had a relaxed look. Indeed, this kind of injury was nothing to him. When he fell off the motorcycle, he took measures, so he did not have significant injuries. Someone riding for as long as Harvey knows how to get away from such situations and avoid getting hit or landing in a way to cause more pain. Harvey had a bad temper. Zach had known this about him since the beginning, so he understood what was happening. I understand. I will talk to Miss Petal and make her take responsibility. Zach pushed his glasses and looked at the notes in his hand. He seemed to have remembered something. By the way, Alex was looking for you yesterday. He said he did not think there was a suitable model to recommend for the new layouts. Harvey frowned. He has already been through 3 large groups of candidates. What does he want? Zach sighed. He said he wanted to use Evelyn. He said that the autumn style was designed based on her original inspiration, so the best model was Evelyn because it was tailored with her in mind. Harvey frowned and said, Tell Alex we cannot use Evelyn, as she is unwilling to compromise. Harvey suddenly thought of something. He raised his lips and said, But maybe it will be useful for Alex to ask her to help him. Recently, she has not been working, so she is very free. Zach, find the address where she is staying and tell Alex. We will let him talk to Evelyn personally. Okay, I got it. Zach nodded. Although he did not know why Harvey wanted Alex to do such a thing, he could see Harvey had ulterior motives. Evelyn, isn't she coming today? In the hospital, Timothy packed his things. After enduring the silence for a few minutes, he couldn't help but ask Cindy. That slightly embarrassed expression was very rare and made Cindy snicker. It must be because he was so worried and was impatient to see her. He talked little about those affectionate things when he was with Evelyn, but now he was overwhelmed with them. Cindy pretended to be ignorant and turned her head. She said, Yes, probably because of the morning shift at work. Maybe we should just go directly to the house once you are released and wait for her. I see. Timothy nodded. He said nothing else, but he felt a pang of regret for having wanted her with him today. Timothy packed his things and got into the car. He had been thinking things over all night and finally asked Cindy, Cindy, do you think it's okay for me to date Evelyn like this? He felt uneasy. He was afraid that he was being too selfish. You only need to be happy as long as you can. Tim, you always had so many dreams for your future when you were with her. Just let them all come true. Don't worry about right and wrong. Evelyn is your girlfriend now. Cindy gently consoled him. Cindy did not know if it was love or not. She felt she did not need to know about it. No matter what Evelyn was feeling, she will stay with Timothy during all this. She will come to be with the person she once loved deeply, so she didn't need to worry about what would happen later. Now, she only needed to think about the present. She would talk about other things and plans when Timothy was again guaranteed a future. Now, she only needed to think about Evelyn secretly preparing lunch at home and how big a surprise for Timothy they had planned. Timothy lowered his head and smiled. He said in a soft voice, "That's true. I can enjoy my happiness with ease for now." He always thought too much and worried too much. This was why he had always been unhappy. Just as Cindy had said, he should not think about it. He wanted to be happy even if it was for a short while. The car drove back to the house. As soon as Timothy opened the door, the smell of food filtered out to him. As Timothy was about to call out, assuming his parents were there, he saw a pretty woman appear with a smile. "Timmy, welcome back." Timothy's pupils suddenly contracted as he stared blankly at Evelyn, who had just come out of nowhere. Why is she at his house? In an instant, Timothy understood what was going on. These two women were working together to surprise him. "I have seen my brother's shocked expression, and now I will leave the rest to you, Evelyn." Cindy put down her things and whispered into Timothy's ear, "I will be by to help you later. Bye." Cindy started immediately back toward the entrance of the house. Evelyn shouted at her, "Hey, lunch is ready!" Cindy did not stop at all. She waved her hand at Evelyn and continued walking away. Evelyn was the only one left in the house with Timothy, as the house helps had the day off. Was Evelyn inching towards the serene life with Timothy that she had always dreamt of? Or was this the calm before the storm?